I think I have set to.
Yeah, I know.
If she didn't get one prior.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. I'm like, that's confused.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. And as usual, we start off with the pledge of allegiance. We join.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Patterson, present. Finley here. Lewis, present. Lindsay, here. McGill, here. C-class, not here yet. Here comes something. Thank you. So I'll go to Schwartz.
Here.
Seacrest.
Here. Just barely. So
It wasn't fun, was it?
can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Okay, there was one minor change, in new business. What was E under the old agenda is now E, and what was E under the old agenda is now E. With that minor change,
I would also like to add one under new business, does that mean the farming and rock property?
Gonna be I.
Sure. We finished business, the GFL, sorry, not GFL. Yes, GFL relabeling business, we did.
I thought they said they're gonna start a race.
But we can talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that Jay?
H-I-J.
Is it new business or old business? Unfinished
Oh,
business. Okay, so F.
So that's it.
Yeah.
Also, under for business status of investigation. That's going on.
J, that's
J.
G.
G.
Okay, that would be G then, right? Be G.
That's all business, is something that we did, was unfinished from the prior meeting.
Well, this is unfinished, just, I have an update, so that I can share it.
Okay.
Did we?
Do you have an update on that?
Yeah.
What? Okay, all right, let's have
Did we put the HR? HR?
I'm not sure which.
well, before I call it roll, I think that everybody should have an opportunity.
HR in the business, right?
I was just gonna make a comment.
Oh,
That's H under new business. Right, that's. H
Oh,
under new
okay,
business.
perfect, okay.
no, that's,
That's what she was.
No, I was
asking
asking
you.
about something.
Oh, she didn't see it.
Oh.
Thank you.
She just didn't see it.
I missed it. Okay. Is that it?
I got an update from the committee to review the deciding.
Yeah,
She
That's,
just didn't see
she
it.
showed, she
She
pointed
just
it out.
didn't see it.
I'm good.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendment, say aye. Any opposed? So I guess, we're going into a closed session.
Could we move it?
Well, I'm gonna break these out, go into closed session for A. That is to discuss a letter from an employee to the clerk. And you're choosing to go into closed session. All right.
Can we move the closed session down on the agenda and allow the road commission and citizens participation?
I would be.
I
I
would
just feel like closed session can be either done before the meeting or at the end.
So where do you think?
I'm probably doing it after the business.
Afternoon, is-
Mhm.
any objection to that?
Closed session.
So how about we do it after reports, before communication?
We don't know how long they're closed session. Okay.
I just don't want to hold the public up for our business.
So, is there any objection? Saying none.
Only the last time we did, at last month's meeting, we had it at the end, and we were just, because the meeting went on and on.
But that was prior to consent agendas.
We had a consent agenda last 2 months. Last 2 months we had consent, so that's the only. I'd like it after, or before communications.
Well, I think Ron is right, you know, the closed session, we don't know how long it's gonna take, but there, we're on the agenda tonight. And I really want to put people here to sit around. They can leave then if they want, so
I still feel that way.
I think that would be good. Do you look at that as a friendly motion?
Brenda wants to make that motion.
I'd like to make a friendly motion to move the closed session to the new 12. The new 12 and move bills for payment down after the business.
Everyone in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. That takes us now to citizen participation. So is there any citizen that would like to participate tonight before we have our presentation? Yes.
On November 29th, 2023, I informed Clerk Finley that I had taken another position and would resign from superior leadership. I let her know verbally and an email later that day. When I let her know, she congratulated me and stated I would be missed. She asked what my last day would be, and I stated December 13th, 2023. I gave the customary 2 weeks notice for 2 reasons. Despite my constant high levels of anxiety from working with Clerk Finley, I wanted to ensure that I had the opportunity to bring up to speed the deputy clerk on any of the projects I was in the middle of. And mostly because I was afraid that she would withhold the approximate 40 hours of vacation time I had left in my bank. The following day, Clerk Finley accelerated the abusive behavior that led to my departure. She consistently criticized me for things that were not within my control or job description and berated me with questions about the actions of other people in the office. Not only were the things she said inappropriate, but often they were said in an aggressive tone and occasionally a raised voice. As well, she attempted to make me feel guilty for my decision to find employment elsewhere and spent over 20 minutes attempting to tell me that I was not allowed to leave on the date previously agreed upon. On December 7th, 2023, I made the difficult decision to speak up about how I was being treated and leave my position with Superior Township earlier than planned, even if that meant I would struggle to pay my bills due to lost pay. I did this in an email to the entire board. I was shocked when the agenda and the board packet for the December meeting did not include either of my emails. From what I was taught by Clerk Finley, all communications to the board were to be included in the agenda or board packet, and I've seen several resignations get included under communications. On December 20th, 2023, I sent another email to all the board members asking why my emails had not been included in December's agenda or board packet. Trustee Linke was the only one who reached out to me to let me know that the matter had been tabled until this meeting, and that my communications with the township would be part of the board packet. She also requested we talk, but we have not had that opportunity. I'm here tonight because, again, none of my communications are a part of the board packet, and I fear this matter and Clerk Finley's behavior in general will be swept under the rug. As I stated in my December 7th letter, I feel obligated to make Clerk Finley's behavior known to the board so that she does not hurt any future employees. I ask that this statement and all of my stated communications, which I have given you each another copy of, be entered into the official record. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to comment? Public comment? Brenda?
Brenda Baker, Ashton Court. I'm just here to speak on behalf of the Community of Superior Township. Wanted to call to your attention item CA under communications, at which time I don't have the opportunity to speak unless you ask me a question, I guess. But that is our monthly communication to the board, and I just want to let you know that I'm present and available if you have any questions or comments when we get that item on the agenda. Thanks.
Thank you, Brenda. Gary?
Good afternoon. I'm here from the previous meeting that you had. We discussed about speed bumps. And I did see that the Washington County or someone came out and laid down some monitors for Stevenson. But I have not heard anything, find out where we at. Now, the last time I talked to the road commission and you guys, that we weren't getting those speed bumps, but there would be something put in place this coming up the following fall, which didn't happen. So I just want to know where we at with speed bumps for Stevenson.
Jerry, just to respond, we do have the road commission here to make a presentation. Anybody else? Yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone. Probably about a couple of weeks ago, I reached out to people in my community, everyone, And I asked them about things for 2024. What are they interested in? What are they concerned about? And it wasn't really just about what they're concerned about, it's just what they were thinking. And so yesterday I had a great honor going to a function for MLK. And when I came home, it was really good. The speakers are great. When I came home, I decided to look up some quotes on Martin Luther King. And one of them that I ran across, I just want to read it today because it kind of just says what we all should be. And that is, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter to us. So I have a couple categories, and the first one was Washington County Sheriff, because there has been a great uptick in crime south of Gettys. And so one of the people responded, wanted to know what is being done. Is there any increase in driving through the neighborhoods at night? Because it is at night when this crime is occurring and nobody's cutting through backyards. They're coming down the sidewalk and they're walking up the street. I know there was one on your street, Brenda, and then there was a car that was stolen. And then right in front where my grandson stays, his car was broken into about 3 weeks ago. So there's just a lot more of that occurring. And so one of the residents just wanted to know what we were going to do about it. And report, she wanted to see the Washington Sheriff here to kind of answer those questions and give reports. So the next and one of the biggest areas had to do with the Washington Road Commission. Gentlemen, I'm glad you're here today. I don't know you, but certainly. What happened?
Your microphone's on.
Yeah.
Press the button.
Hit the button. Did I do that? Okay. So somebody said to me, they appreciate me for reaching out. And one of the biggest things, if any of you live in around Oak Brook, has to do with, has to do with that big sunken spot at MacArthur and Clark. It's probably been there about 4 or 5 years. There's a gentleman that I know is online right now who busted his tire. I sat there and I watched cars that are low to the ground tear up their flat. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tom? The spot?
No, I'm trying to picture.
As soon as you turn on MacArthur from Clark, that drain.
Oh,
Okay, and I do have pictures of it. Another one, there was a couple questions about that drain. Ask the township officials how many children have to be hit by a speeding car or truck before speed bumps are priority in this area. People wanted speed bumps on Berkshire Drive, Stanford, Devon, and also Stevens Drive. How much concern about this and getting necessary speed bumps? That's just the same thing. Can you find out the last time the township or road commission trimmed trees on roads in any other neighborhoods? I've lived here over 40 years and I can't recall the last time. Then it said drive down some of the streets in the summertime. Someone said, I wonder why such poor job was done resurfacing roads with tar and pebbles last summer. There are several places where it has worn off already. For example, the corner of Stanford Road and MacArthur near 1206 Stanford, or on Geddes Road west of Hunters Creek. Another one, I live on the Circle Bump, and this is where all of Sheffield is curves. So where there's a curve, those 3 or 4 houses that are in the inner part of the curve, when there's snow, they don't get plowed. They have to find their way out of that curve. So one of the residents wrote to me last night and asked me if the road commission could also do that bump out when they do the snow removal. Then we get to ordinance violators. It was just 2. Just please do a better job of citing ordinance violators. It's widespread. And this time I asked me, can I get an email? Because they were gonna send me pictures, and I have pictures. Many of our violators, there have been letters that have been sent out. I think the only thing we need to do is kind of follow up on it and keep a sharp eye. And I have pictures now, let everybody see it. Okay, then we get to Board of Trustee elected officials. A question was asked about more citizen engagement in the board meetings. There should be an opportunity for citizens to ask questions and to make comments after each section that you're talking about. Then content provided in the board packet needs more visibility. The newsletter alone is not an adequate summary. Then another one, more oversight over elected officials. Not sure what that one's about. Then roadside trash. And I also had a resident that lives in a rural area that reached out to me and asked, and one, I thought this was a great idea. Because she wanted to kind of put together a committee that maybe at certain times a year could get out there and pick up trash. And this could be, and I don't want to organize it, but I would be willing to participate. And this particular person, actually, her name is Devereaux is her last name, I think Sarah Devereaux. She said she'd be willing to organize, coming together with residents to pick up trash off the road. Be here, or she said she'd be very happy to participate and help organize it. And then there was a question about, I have a concern about the upkeep of shared areas. Who is responsible for picking up trash on the bike paths? Last year, there was an accident on Harris Road at the entrance of Berkshire. There were cars parts that were left in the ditch on the bike path and next to the field, next to the library. She contacted someone here at the office and never heard anything back. And then finally, she said she went out there and she picked it up herself. Someone else asked about the upkeep of signs, like the Oak Brook sign. What happens when it gets raggedy underneath there and gets unruly? Who's responsible? Because where there's HOA, they will clean it up. But who's responsible for it? You know, like somewhere like Getty's Ridge or Oak Brook where we don't have it. Even though I kind of said I might, with some help, take the role of working on the one at Oak Brook, where I live. A lot of questions about the recreation center. And I think what we need for the recreation center is just communication. I mean, a lot of people talk about how they have to go to Ypsilanti City for their use, for music, sports, and everything else. And basically, they were talking about how we need something for seniors, we need something for youth, just more, you know, like baseball or some activities to expand for the citizens of this area. And then Good Life, I have a very good rapport, GFL, with the supervisor, but the same areas continue to be neglected. And the problem is more so north of Getty's than it is south of Getty's. South of Getty's gets some, but it seems to be the same areas that just sometimes get totally missed and passed over for several days. And I think for people who are paying that bill, we just need to find a way to make sure they get a little bit better care. Okay, let me see. And the recreation center. And what's the last one? Mature tree trimming. Somebody made a suggestion that if there's a way that the township could work with the company and the residents maybe get a discount on trimming the mature trees. If anybody drives through the neighborhood right now, after last week, there's some branches. They're not as, well, there's some big ones too. Not as bad as it was last year, but I can see this is continued all winter long. We're right at the beginning of the winter. So some of us need to trim our trees and, you know, people are just looking for a way to do this where we can all get it done together. And I think the last one was just sidewalk replacement. You know, there are people who, you know, the residents have to pay for it. There are residents that are still concerned about having to pay for it. But at this point, you know, we're way in it, so can't change the rules. We did do the income allowance exemption for those people who qualify, and there were a lot of those, but you have residents that got them done, and we can't stop in the middle and say, okay, the township's pay for it. So I appreciate everybody for listening. These are now my little new mission. Because I just want to see that some of the concerns of the residents are heard and we do something about it. Okay, thanks.
Tom? Yeah.
Hi there, Tom Brennan, live on Sheffield Drive. I do want to piggyback about the speed bumps, especially on Berkshire. My in-laws live on Berkshire, And that is literally a racetrack there. I get like tense every time I gotta back out of their driveway. And I gotta make it quick. And another thing about snow removal, I want to bring up to the road commission, I know it's a lot beyond their control, being labor intensive. But when the plow goes by, I know, you've heard complaints that it plows people in after they've shoveled their driveway. I'm thinking about neighbors who are elderly and, aren't exactly in the shape to be shoveling snow. And the other day I had to spend time clearing out after the road commission, after the plow me in, and that was like a rock. I mean, I was contemplating getting a flamethrower to melt all the snow. But I just want to kind of express that concern too. So, thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Ramona Parker Hayes Mohammed, and I've been a resident of Superior Township for the past 35 years. I'm still awaiting a response, movement, investigation, and/or data on my concern that I brought to your attention at the October 2023 meeting and the November 2023 meeting regarding why we do not have an insured cash sweep account. I'm asking you to clarify why you do not deem it necessary to protect the funds of the township. I have provided an explanation of the purpose of an ICS account. I have provided the name of the bank that was recommended by the auditor, by the township auditor, and who you retained. And I recently read an email from a trustee asking the former treasurer to look into the matter. The email was dated 2021 and nothing happened. So I will move forward with my push for the protection of our funds, and perhaps after November, the issue will be addressed. This evening, I am seeking clarity on the role of the controller. I see in the packet from last month that his salary was increased from $100,000 to $125,000 with an explanation of additional hours. What exactly is his role as it is understood by the board? I have my own understanding based on my professional experience. Is my understanding correct that he is not a full-time employee? Is my understanding correct that he does not live in Michigan, but in Florida? Is my understanding correct that his travel expenses, transportation, housing, meals to Michigan are paid for by the township? Is he under contract? And if so, how long is that contract? And is there a process in place to recruit a controller who is local? My final question for this portion of the meeting is related to the auditor. I noticed the engagement letter for the auditor is in tonight's packet. Is it possible to see the management letters from previous audits? I would like to know if any material weaknesses were found in our financial processes, and if so, what corrections were made? In my review of just a few months of data, I am deeply concerned with our fiscal health and the reporting practices I have seen. Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Sir? Can you tell us your name and where you live?
I'll be brief as I have a restless 2-year-old. Good evening. My name is Dana Green Jr. I live on Stanford Road in the Oak Brook subdivision. I'm talking to you all today to declare my candidacy for Board of Trustees of Superior Township. I was fortunate enough to move to the township with my wife Jordan in the winter of 2020, right before Christmas actually. We welcomed our daughter in July of 2021. As you can see, we're very loud 2.5-year-old. And we've been very fortunate to have experienced the love, care, and support of this community, attending events like, excuse me, I'm somewhat nervous. Attending events like hikes at the park, at Fireman's Park, and movies on the green, and being able to access the wonderful facilities of the new Superior Township Library. These events and practices make our township such a wonderful place to live. But as some of those concerns have been listed today, there are also areas for growth. We need to do a better job of providing healthy infrastructure for our township, investing in our employees appropriately, as well as making sure that we create a trusting and healthy environment for community members to feel like they can share their concerns appropriately. It's for these reasons that I'm running for a trustee, and I'm looking forward to earning the votes of any township member that I have not already met. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I look forward to meeting with all the citizens of Superior Township. Thank you.
Dana, how do you spell your last name?
Green, like the color, so with Ian.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Well, we'll take a minute. Does anybody on the board want to respond? to
Yeah,
that?
I do. I no longer would like to, have a closed session for my comments. I like it in open meeting. And I am concerned that, with it being at the very end of the meeting, we will lose everybody in here that I would like to hear my comments.
You don't want to be close.
No, I wanted an open meeting.
May I speak?
It's on as a closed session on the agenda.
Based on
but
what,
We can go
yes.
back and take.
Yes.
You were the one that requested, so I think you're the one that could,
absolutely.
say. Okay.
And as I said, since it's been moved to the end of the meeting, I have a concern that I will lose this entire group of people that I would love to hear my comments.
Was there somebody that wanted to comment on Zoom?
I'm trying to get them to write something instead of,
Well,
And by the way, we've had trouble with our communications. In fact,
See.
we've been in
Can
here
you-
3 days.
Hello, can you hear me?
Everything replaced, so.
Can you hear me?
I hope everybody is able to be on this. No, that camera's just been moved from up there to down there because we can't do anything. And this is the only way we can capture the meeting.
So is there anybody on the board who wants to respond to anything that we said in public? Citizen participation? I'll answer just a couple questions.
No, last,
Oh, go ahead, Dennis.
I don't know if I need a mic or not, but, I can speak loudly. So, Samuel Hayes, lives on Durham Court. And he says that he is the young man who wrecked his tire on the pothole and it cost him $270. And he requested that be read out loud.
He requested.
It'd be read out.
loud.
Be read out loud. Okay, some of the things that Irma brought up, I can respond to. So we have had tree trimming done. All of Panama was done tree trimming. All the trees on Panama Court, Panama the Eyebrow, and Panama Street. Harvest Lane was, we trimmed the trees there. All of them were trimmed on Getty's Ridge, MacArthur, and then a couple in Oak Brook, or not Oak Brook, in Washington Square, including Stevens, was trimmed. It's expensive to trim that, and I would love to see trees trimmed, to be honest with you. But the ordinance has the trees being the responsibility of the homeowner. If we wanted to revisit that, we could. So those areas have been trimmed. And we do go out, make sure that a fire truck can get under anyone. So there's a 13-foot limit. So, you know, there's one limb that's less than 13 feet, we usually will have somebody come up and trim that up. And then it's 8 feet or 9 feet on the sidewalk. Trash on the road, we used to have, before the pandemic, the sheriff had a jail work program, but I'm not sure that's ever been reintroduced since the pandemic. Not yet, no. Not yet. I don't know if there are plans either. I can check. The last time I checked with Katrina, that had not been reestablished. Okay, but if you could check again, that'd be great. As you know, you and I go out pick up trash from time to time, but we can't pick up everything that's on the road. The Oak Brook sign, the Parks has kind of taken care of that when it needed to be trimmed back. I asked Juan to have his guys do it, and they did it. And then, in that area, Rob Butler takes care of the grass in that area. On the elderly snow, there used to be, and I don't know if this program is still available, the sheriff's department had a program where they would shovel snow for elderly people with inmates or with community corrections, I don't know.
That was tied into the work program.
And is that all kaput now because of the pandemic?
It was, and I would have to check with admin to see what the status is.
Because I used to be able to get some people shoveled out.
So whoever's speaking, they really need to speak at the mic so that they can, their responses. Thank you.
Sorry. First time.
Yeah, the work program through the sheriff's office was suspended during the pandemic. I'm not sure of the current status of it because it's ran through the jail side of things versus the road patrol operations. I can send some emails and text messages if you can answer.
Great. I know that Superior Road, the residents there have bound together and they pick up the trash on Superior Road like twice a year, leave the form pads, and then GFL picks those up. Other places, if there's something that we can't move, I have had Jalen.
Nancy, what's Jalen's last name? Wilson.
So we've hired Jalen Wilson to go out and clean up on the road from time to time when there's been a lot of garbage dumped. But he can't handle anything like cinder blocks and people dump chunks of concrete. I usually call the road commission on that and they'll come out and eventually get that cleaned up. Regarding the audit and management letters, yeah, Ms. Mohammed, we can get you copies of those letters. If you leave an email address with us or send me one, I'll get you copies of those. Okay, and I think that if you go online to the Department of Treasury, the local audit division, I'm not sure if that's the name of it, I think Bernice knows, is that what it's called?
You can look at the audits of every township. I don't believe they have the management letters.
Okay.
I don't think it.
The standard audits, they don't.
Yeah,
The management, that's the internal
Right.
tool.
So we could get you those, if you can send us an email where to send them to, you know, we can do that. The controller does not make 125,000 a year. I'm not sure what he's hourly. And Nancy, do you know how much?
I think he makes about 100,000. I think there was,
The new budget.
does it say 125?
Yeah. But in the packet last month.
Nancy,
Oh, sorry.
Nancy, why don't you approach the podium? You work
I
with the
mean, I don't have the exact amount offhand, but his money is allocated 25% for the general and 75% for utilities.
but he didn't run back on it, did he?
No, but he started working more hours. Remember, we asked about it. He was generally at 20 hours, but he started working about 30 hours.
Well, it was something in the utilities and training some more people and when we were having issues down there.
So he's hourly, I don't know what his hourly wage is off the top of my head.
I think it's 65.
But he still lives in Florida, correct? Is that correct?
He does live in Florida.
And do we pay, when he comes here to Michigan, do we pay for that?
If we request him to come, then we do pay. And I think we've only requested him to come during the audit and maybe once or twice at the budget time.
Then what is his role? If you're on the team now?
Well, Nancy, you can answer that probably better than us. What does the controller do for the township?
He reports to you, Ken. Perhaps you can answer
Well, I
that.
can answer the question. He does all the accounting for the utilities department. I know that. And I think he does that in association with Nancy. He does the budget, he does the first reiteration of the budget, subject to the board's change at the public hearing. He prepares the audit work, or prepares for the audit, I should say. And he does various other tasks. He does not do that much for me. He does primarily, he works for accounts payable and Nancy's role here as a bookkeeper / accountant.
Do you have a job description?
Yes, we do.
Is that public? Or is that, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm just curious that some of the things listed are, heavy hitters, like, here for the
I
audit.
gotta speak in the mic, I'm sorry.
Some of the things you listed are heavy hitters, like preparing for the audit, the budget, because I know I do that for a living, I know the time involved in that. And to have someone who's out of state, who's hourly, who does it at your request, I wanna see their contract. Because what I'm looking at in the financial statements that I've been reviewing, I have some concerns.
Okay. He doesn't have a contract with us. He's an employee.
Okay,
And he's paid hourly.
and how often is he reviewed? Does he get a performance review?
Well, I think it comes through with the audit, the auditor and the controller work together on the audit.
Okay, so but my question is,
I don't,
does he get a performance review? That's a yes or no?
I think that's a no.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from Nancy? From the board?
Just, we'll talk about this later, but when Rhonda and I were working on the draft of the Human Resources Director, we did find that we wanted to take out anything that pertained to Nancy's job, but found that there was not a job description for Nancy. There's a very brief one included in a resolution, but there really isn't. And what we were gonna recommend when we get to that is that you have job specifications for each job in this township. Otherwise, someone can come in, you really don't know what their job encompasses. So we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. And that's all I had to say in response to some of the questions that were asked. Is there anybody else? If not, we'll move on. Oh, Linda.
No, I'm just asking once again, as it relates to this agenda, you're moving something, where are we with, what's listed under the closed session? I'm asking to move mine into open, meeting. So, Ken, I'm not sure, if you're through with A.
We're at citizen participation.
I know where we are.
Presentation.
I know where we are,
The board moved the closed sessions at that time, we considered.
but you wanted yours in open. Where would yours be?
I haven't requested.
You didn't request anything, you did.
No,
I
I'm
didn't request-
referring to discuss letter from the
Email.
first one, A.
That's what you wanted to move back. to.
No, the discussed email from clerk to supervisor. Actually, all of this, I'm sure. For one was his and the other was
No, I
mine.
didn't.
You didn't request anything.
And then-
So are you saying we don't need a closed session? Is that what?
I
you're
want
saying?
everything in open session, so
With the exception of C, discussing the purchase agreement.
Yes.
On the property. at
yes.
Street,
Mhm.
okay? So question is, where are we going to put that? And I think we should get through the presentations.
I agree
First,
with, I
And
agree
then
with this
you want, we
presentation.
should put it at under new business. You want to put it there?
That's fine.
And we can just put A and B there, what you had is A and B, and we'll just drop everything else down and get rid of the whole section.
Yeah, exactly. See.
So, still go in full section.
Still closed session.
Okay, so that's it. We'll close
Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, I was about to say, do we?
Yeah, we probably should have a vote on the amended agenda again, so can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Support? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's what we do. So, last call for anybody for citizen participation? Sir?
You were done with that, Kevin. You
Well, I
went back
was
to it,
fine, but-
because you saw more people come in. You went back to it.
Yeah, I didn't close it out yet, but that's fine. If you want to move on, we can move on.
You're closer, but that's okay. You can do whatever you choose.
Not a big deal, I just had thought. I was
Oh.
there. Well, you're talking about.
We got a speaker
Yeah,
device.
exactly. All right.
Hi, my name is Brian Clark, and I just had a thought about pollution that I thought I would share. Like even during Christmas time, I have a 2-year-old, I was looking to do community service, just so he could see me doing it. Help me implement in our family, and it's hard to find. So I was thinking maybe just auditing our website to where we offer it, not to mention, I work at a high school and like National Honor Society, they're always looking for a place to do community service. So if we could maybe alter our website to where people know where to go, and then they can get recognition if they need it. That's all. That's actually people in jail or court or probation, like the whole game, just give them an
Yeah,
opportunity.
they're not letting me do it anymore. They used to, but.
As far as like picking up trash,
Yeah.
really? Okay.
Because of the pandemic, because they're gonna be supervised, they're gonna be close contact, so they ended that program. And we'll find out through the new staff is there.
But that's with the jail, I think he's referring to allowing the township to have a community service offering where people. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Exactly. So if someone's like on probation and they have to do community service, I'm not talking about a jail
They don't
program
have
where
to be
you're
supervised. they just
incarcerated.
have to be
Yes, no, I
assigned.
understand that.
Okay. And then the other thing is just
On
me
on
personally.
probation, sometimes on probation, if it's a jail work program,
Got
they're
it.
not in jail. But they're on like a community service program, and they are generally supervised, so that somebody can write down their hours. But we're gonna have our new sergeant check on this and see where the sheriff is at on providing those services. But even notwithstanding that, we could create a, let's just say, trash pickup volunteer corps. And maybe put something together, people could volunteer, we could organize something and go out and do it.
I grew up in Salem, we used to have trash day, and they would just drop dumpsters off and people could go and clean up and pick up and stuff, anyway, just
We,
thought I would share.
we did that many times. Yeah. Right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Was it Brian?
Brian.
Can I just say something? Parks and Recreation, the commission meetings, they talked about having a community day where they all engage in that too. And they've been saying that again and again. So it's a great idea.
I agree.
I
Cleanup
think it's set up pretty easy. Was.
cleanup days can be set up super easy.
We used to have a Superior Cleanup Day. It was always in June, and it would be the Board of Trustees. And some of the employees, we meet up and we clean the streets, but we haven't done that in a while either. I guess we're on COVID. I don't think there's a lot. Okay, so we'll move on to.
There's a public, there's a,
approval of minutes from the December.
there's a, hello, can anyone hear me?
For the presentation from the. Commission.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Matt, you and Rod have the floor.
Can someone get their attention to let
Good
them know
evening,
that?
board members and residents. My name is Matt McDonnell.
So
I'm the new director at the Washington
I,
Hydro Commission.
I don't think they can
also
hear
have,
us for
business
some reason. I'm
cards
not
that
sure.
can provide, I'll leave at
Golly.
the sign-in table this evening.
So you have to type it
After my
in the
presentation.
chat and hope
I was
that
asked to be here for.
I typed it in the chat and I had
response
my
to,
hand raised.
Your last
yeah,
meeting, there was a
I
discussion
don't know what's going on there.
So I wanted to
Fully.
provide
Phil knows a little bit more than
update,
us.
They
on
are
that,
not.
but before I get
Is
to
there
that,
anyone
just wanna
on here
simply go over
monitoring the?
the policy.
It's
for
supposed
the
to be
traffic
deputy
program
according
came
to
up.
SO.
I dropped off hard copies for the board members, but copies for members of the public if they're interested. I'll set this down right here. Absolutely, wow, that's great. Thank you so much. So this is a pretty long-standing policy the road commission has had for neighborhood traffic program management. A lot of people refer to that as speed bumps. Well, that's one of the outcomes, generally speaking. It is intended for local subdivision roadways with speed limits of 25 miles an hour. This is a program that is initiated by the residents. Typically, what will happen is their concern will be brought forth, much like concerns are brought forth this evening. The road commission will then be contacted by citizens. We'll end up going through our process of, they would submit a petition for us to take a look at. That petition is pretty minimal. You just need 7 residents to apply for that petition for evaluation. And then ultimately the road commission would then put down counters and do an engineering study. So that did take place for Stevens Drive. And also the other subdivision that's currently being evaluated is Tanglewood subdivision. So those are the 2 active ones that I am aware of in Superior Township. If I've heard other street names with concerns, I have my business cards. Again, send me an email and we can talk about getting that petition started for those other streets where there's areas of concern.
Is there a certain month that you do the evaluation? A certain time of year?
Oftentimes, it's difficult to put the tubes down when we're doing winter maintenance. So that's generally not a good time. We were able to do some counts this December because we didn't have a lot of snow in the forecast. So typically, we'll do it as we can get to it. We have our own equipment to do the counts. So as spring, summer, fall are great times of the year to go ahead and do that.
So did you do a count for Stevens Drive in December?
We recounted in December.
Okay, so isn't it better to recount it in the summertime when there's a lot of traffic? Because that's when the problem is. The problem in our subdivisions are not in December. The problem is in July and June and August when everybody are out.
I would beg to differ, it's year round.
Okay.
I almost got hit twice,
Well,
just putting it on the record, and that was in November.
no, I appreciate that, those accounts.
Yeah.
Ultimately, traffic count is just a snapshot in time. So we can count it and recount it. We've done that. We've been out there 3 times for Stevens Drive, done the counts, done the evaluation. Unfortunately, it's fallen short of our criteria. And that's what I'll get into next, that ultimately there is a criteria for, if you look at the back sheet, basically a scoring system, where we're looking at the speed of the roadway. So when we do those counts, we not only collect the number of trips that are occurring to see if there's additional traffic on that road, people may be using it for a cut through. So there's more trips than we would anticipate given the number of households that use that roadway. So also because of the tubes, they can get the data for how fast you're going. So you can get what we call the 85th percentile speed. So if people are traveling faster than 25 miles an hour, there's essentially a point system. And if the average speed ends up being 35 miles an hour, it automatically qualifies. If it ends up being that you're 5 miles an hour, say traffic's going 30 miles an hour in that subdivision, then you get 2 points for that. So you can see that that point system there. Another category or criteria is if there's cut through traffic, there's greater than anticipated volume on that roadway given the number of residents. Keep in mind, on average, on a household, generally generates about 10 trips per day. So if there's 10 residents on there, you would expect 100 trips per day, roughly speaking. So we look at that, see if there's any cut through traffic and score that appropriately. And then we look at the average daily traffic. The average daily traffic, if you're somewhere between 250 to 500 cars, In the case of Stevens, it's roughly, anywhere between, 300 to 500 cars a day, depending on the segment that you're looking at. We ended up counting 3 segments. So in that case, you would score a 1 point. If you look at crash history, those are correctable accidents, that may have occurred. Sorry, I think the mic. Oh, maybe I did. Sorry. There's that better?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Okay, I saw that happen, so I should be aware of it. So my apologies. So correctable crashes. So in general, when we're looking at crash data, they have to be recorded accidents that the sheriff's office, they call it UD10 report. We'll look at those and look at the 3-year history. If there's a school within the walking area, you may get a point, or 2, depending how close it is. And then looking for major pedestrian generators, like the library that's maybe within a quarter mile, you may get a point. And then lastly, sidewalks, whether they're present or not. If they're not present, then generally speaking, people are walking along the side of the road. So obviously that would create another potential hazard, and therefore you get another couple of points there. So in general, we go through this review, we collect the data, we look at the engineering study to see if it is warranted. Once again, we were able to do a little collection of data in December, given the request that came from the township board. The average daily traffic, like I said, we collected 3 locations. It ranged from 280 to 521 trips per day, depending on the segment you were looking at. And basically, we were looking for point totals in that criteria. It got up to 5, but it was well short of the 10. So in the process, if it were to qualify, we would also want to make sure that the residents along that roadway were, by majority, were in favor of those speed humps. So what that does is we want to make sure, if it were to qualify at some point in the future, we would want to see a petition circulated saying that residents are in favor of these speed hump devices, 51% or greater, in order to install them. And then the other point would be is who's going to pay for the cost of the speed humps. So if the township's willing to fund that, it's fine. We also have our matching program, or some townships have decided to do a special assessment district. Just to give you a general cost, speed humps, each hump, typically to remove the pavement, put back concrete speed humps, about $10,000 a speed hump. So if you were to put 3 humps in the neighborhood on a segment of roadway, it'd be about a $30,000 project, just to talk round numbers. Obviously, we competitive did that, but that's just in general what we're seeing.
Is that true for those? Is that true for the removable ones?
No, we don't allow the removable speed humps. We have a particular style of speed hump where it's quite elongated. So it really does slow. It's not a bump, it's a hump. So it really slows things down, and it's easily traversable by our plows and emergency service vehicles. So that's the our practice there. Any questions on what I presented thus far?
Can I answer? Jerry, we'll let the board go first. Does anybody on the board have any questions for the road commission? I have just 2 quick ones, and then Jerry. Who sets the criteria? Is that something like American Association of Highway Engineers, or is that something that's done in-house?
We do. So the criteria was revisited just recently on the sheet. It says it last January. So we revisited the criteria and increased some of our point scale. That is an internal document. If we do rely on a lot of our traffic Institute of Traffic Engineers reference guides, but this rating system is a road commission document.
And then my second question was, when you talk about the signatures, I think we had an issue with renaming of a street at one time where the road commission only recognizes owners and not tenants. Is that true for this?
Yes, that would be owners, for the households.
That's all.
So if the owners aren't around here, like if, you know, how there's corporations, businesses that will purchase houses and they may live, you're kind of speaking to you. They may live, you know, outside of Michigan even, the renters have no say, is what you're saying.
Well, what we did, when we revisited this, procedure, the threshold used to be 75%. We lowered that to 51, given that issue.
Do you have the results for the Stevens Drive, systems?
I do. We have I can send that out to the board and you can make that available to anybody. If you want to email me, I can send that to you as well. The point criteria was 5 points that when we did we summed up the criteria that I just reviewed, the total ended up being 5, well short of the 10.
I think Jared Clifton has a question. I have two questions.
Sure.
He spoke about is, when we're talking about Stevenson, about the traffic between you. The Washington County Sheriff did a very good job controlling the traffic coming out of townhouses down on MacArthur. But what they done was they controlled that very good.
Jerry, you should really be speaking in the mic also, please. Thank you.
What the Washington County Sheriff did a very good job of controlling the traffic coming down MacArthur. But it made all the traffic come down Stevenson. And it's so bad coming down there, especially in the summertime. Okay, now, you guys, I know you put stuff out there, it's November of December. Regulate, but you ain't gonna go up that hill speeding when it's slick in the first place. And most of all this stuff is in the summertime. In fact, and I just give you some of the cases, just not too long ago, there's an accident just right there on Stevenson. There have been about 3 accidents right there on coming out of the side streets, but it's dangerous when it's a hill that as you come over and you gotta look around. And when you pull out, I live right on the corner of Stevenson and Pine Court. Now, my house have been ran into, a tree have been ran into, a couple was stowed through the windshield. I hit the tree. If it hadn't hit the tree, it would hit my house. Washington County Sheriff chasing after speeders that's coming, that took off from MacArthur and come down to Stevens, but this young kid didn't know no better, that Pine Court was a dead end street, that he come running all up off to the driveway. My wife, all my grandkids sitting out in the front, in the driveway there, scared them to death. So we've been at this problem. Now, the other piece of this is the fact that I have a big problem with health and safety, and I have a big problem when we have or you have a procedure where you've got people that make these decisions on your board that work with the fire department. Now, I've been dealing with this over 10 years. Goes all the way back to when David Rupp was the supervisor. You put speed bumps. I rode all over this place. There has never been those speed bumps put in Superior Township except in that Sycamore Meadows where I used to live at. They were terrible. And then the fire department did not want them there because it was causing problems with their equipment. Okay. Now, I rode around and I came over to the commissioner, both places, going back and forth. Put together a whole bunch of just information. 2 people from the fire department sits on that board, make recommendation to the board, Washington Road Commission, of what and who did what. Now, I got a bunch of communication that wasn't true. Okay. Then I tried to follow up. I'm just trying to find out because I got with Ken Ken said it's the road commission. I go over to the road commission, had a personal conversation with the reps over there. They said, only problem we got is, it is Superior Township, because Ypsilanti Township, right across from where I live at, across Clark, they got all kinds of speed bumps. They got the ones in the city of Ypsilanti that you can remove or put down, okay? No fire department truck, no ambulance, or nothing, have no problem if you look in Ypsilanti Township, okay? And it's more safety for the police officers chasing these people, because if you look at Second Avenue in Ypsilanti, when it is dangerous for the police officers and the people, because I'm got news for you, these people won't stop. I mean, it's so bad that I have to put my truck out with cones, with a vest on, and they still run me up on the sidewalk, because they won't stop. And they're not stopping for the police officers. I got news for you. I hate to say it, we living in a time that 3 kids done got hit right in the front of my house. So I don't know what you guys want to do, wait till somebody get killed and then do something. So I got to a point that I went and I looked at, I said, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that most of the homes that's, when it got into a recession and stuff, the bankers bought those homes, okay? Not only they won't keep them up for the renters, but they don't have no rights. Goes back to the beginning of North America. It's all about land owners. Those people live in my area, got kids and elder people walk up and down the sidewalk over there where I live at. That's where they get their exercise. And I'm one of them, okay? But it's dangerous, okay? Now, most owners, I'm not saying all, I'll say majority, that own property will not vote to have speed bumps because it may raise their taxes. Now, these people that pay rent, now I own my property, okay? I didn't say it. So you took divorce away from them. It goes back, if you look at 1877, your great compromise, and look at what Jim Crow put in place between the compromise between the Republicans and the Democrats. Now, I'm a stone Democrat, but I look at what's going on, and the same taxpayers that paid for that fire truck that the farmers don't want, who do you think paid for it? The taxpayers. But they said, well, it may tear up our equipment. It got so bad, but I talked to Ken. I said, look, he said, no, we'll pay for it. Because my thing was, hey, we'll raise the money, pay for it ourselves. Didn't have a problem with that. But the problem is, when you take a human life that don't mean anything, because somebody sat down and says, you said under 5 points, it didn't make 10. Okay. What about them 3 kids already got hit, that's crippled and all that stuff? I'm not asking for favoritism, but you can't convince me that you got a legitimate system in place when and I'll say 99% of every township in Washington County has speed bump except Superior Township. So it's the biggest problem. I asked him, I just want to know who's with us or who's against us. Give us a vote. He said he was going to do that, but he didn't do that. He showed up at the meeting over there after the time and walked in there, and then he said, we only got 1 vote. Okay. Okay. So all I'm saying is, if we put you in office, 2 things. Look at the health and safety of people. Okay. Now, I've been dealing with this thing, like I said, back and forth, back and forth. When you told me you're not going to give us speed bumps down streets, well, that's saying you're not putting any in Superior Township. Now, I don't know if you're going to change your process or not to allow that, but that's what you told me. I said, we're going to do something for you. I got with the sheriff department. They're the ones that came out and put them monitors down when I asked 2 days later. Okay, I know a few people that's over there, so, okay, they did that one. But all I'm saying is, you can't sit back and not really come look at what's happening in areas, because a lot of people want to support you. I have supported everything you guys want to do. I'm not gonna do it anymore. You don't get no blank check from me, though. You have to earn. So I appreciate whatever you can do, do it.
So I do have a question for you. Help me understand. They've been coming here for the longest. And if I'm correct, we get speed bumps over near Tanglewood or something close to that.
So I do have an update on the Tanglewood.
Hold on, though, if that's the case. Help me understand how an area that is, quote unquote, those people that live over there can't get speed bumps for safety. It should go beyond what we're looking at as we're talking about regulations, we're talking about safety in people's lives. What can we do as a board to make that happen?
I would recommend submitting a petition, and seeing how many of the residents on Stevens and the cul-de-sacs that access Stevens. And to show, hey, we've got a demonstrated desire of the community. And if they're renters, we can just note that on the petition. We've only received the petition to start the process of evaluation. So we've received that petition. That only takes 7 people.
Okay.
So the petition I'm speaking of, if it were to qualify, which it did not, and we are happy to recount during the summer. You tell me the month, you tell me the week, we'll recount, okay? But if it were to qualify, what we need in our process, and I am a proponent of safety. We put them, this is a countywide policy procedure, and Mr. Clifton's right. Other townships have qualified and funded these speed humps. We support it. We know that the people live there, they use the streets, they want them to be safe. That's why we have the program. So I am 100% supportive of safety. We just have to have the criteria because certainly they're expensive, and we want to make sure we're wisely investing taxpayers' dollars. So just to reiterate, I would ask that a petition be circulated for the people on Stevens Drive in the cul-de-sac areas that have to use Stevens Drive to get out, and to see if they are in favor of speed humps being installed, knowing that if there's a commitment by the township to take care of it.
So my question again is, are you saying that the board doesn't count? Because we did a resolution asking for those speed bumps.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm trying to say is, it gets to a point where you just keep beating, you're not getting anywhere. And that's what they're doing. And they shouldn't have to do that. This is an area that needs some speed bumps. And for them to have to keep coming back and coming back, it says a lot about us.
One other question I'd like to ask you, because I did extensive research on your process, and I broke it down sentence by sentence, what was done and what was not done, and what it looked like. It looked real ugly. Like I said, it goes all the way back to Jim Crow. Now, as I understood it, I was told, now we had a long list of people that supported. Well, I could bring you a bunch of people, but my understanding was the only people that could vote was the people that own property, okay, and the people that was renting or in an area that was living there, they had no voice and they couldn't vote, so we didn't put their name, had their support, but we didn't put their name down. Is that still the same?
That's current policy, yes.
Okay, I'm asking this, just, but if that's the policy, would I be able to discern or know the property owners? Do they live there, or are they bankers, or do they live wherever but own the property?
We can provide that information.
So I wanna say something.
Yeah, generally speaking, on the property owner issue, and our procedure is in policy are in black and white. That's why I provided them right here. So number 6, it says prior to the installation of physical devices, the neighborhood residents must demonstrate support of the recommended traffic control measures. A minimum of 51% of the property owners affected by the traffic control devices must concur with the installation of the recommended devices by way of signed petition. And then we would send a petition to the township to verify that with their tax records.
So I have 2 thoughts. One thought is that in wealthier neighborhoods where all of the people own their houses, they have an advantage.
Exactly.
In other neighborhoods where we have poor, and I'm not saying poor, but less economically, fiscally, yeah.
Where you have renters. I
Where you
mean,
have
because
renters.
renters is not a choice always about economics. It's
Right.
about, maybe I just chose to not buy a home.
Right.
But you're
Just-
being told you no longer have a voice because you're renting.
So there's a bias there toward wealthier neighborhoods, and that's a problem. The other is, right here, you say, prior to the installation of any physical devices, the neighborhood residents must demonstrate support for the recommended traffic control measures. So the people that own those homes aren't the residents are the renters. So I think that really goes, you know.
It contradicts itself.
Right, so if the residents are the ones that have to demonstrate support, then the 51% should be of the residents, not as a property.
Regardless of if they rent.
I appreciate that feedback.
And if you all make the criteria, can't you all amend the criteria?
That is correct.
I would strongly urge that.
So.
Again, I appreciate the feedback. We did lower the criteria from 75 to 50. I think also it would make sense for residents that are renters to let the property owners know, hey, this is not something that you're gonna have to pay for. This is going to be borne by the township board.
But if you guys make policy, I really think that, is it the commission that makes the policy, the actual commission?
So
that we would
the
have to
policy
go to?
is made by the road commission board. They adopt all policy, and then the procedure, which we're reading right now, is approved by myself. So I appreciate that feedback. We'll certainly consider that in future revisions. But right now, that's where we're at.
So how do we get it changed?
Again, I will take that consideration. We'll look at that, because this isn't the first time it came up. Our first reaction to that is the lowering that threshold from 75 to 51%.
Right, okay, so if the policy is made by the board, do we do something board or this board to the board of the road commission board? And then you interpret the policy, is what you're saying, through administrative action, is that correct?
No, what I'm saying is what you have very clearly, the policy is the first page. That's approved by the board. The next page, 2 pages, the procedure, which is approved by myself.
Ultimately, you're the decision.
That's correct. On the procedure, yep, so we could look at that and revisit that from property owners to residents that live there. That's something that we can consider. Again, I'm not gonna make that decision tonight, but I do appreciate that feedback.
Did I read that you have every Wednesday?
Twice a week.
You invite.
Your mic's off.
Okay. I think I read in your newsletter, your annual report, that every Wednesday you invite people to call in and discuss these
Yeah.
issues.
Right,
So everybody in this room who
absolutely.
would like to continue this discussion Wednesday.
Absolutely.
What is it, noon?
This Wednesday, noon, every Wednesday at noon, myself, and one of our commissioners is around for chat, and then we have our public meetings, just like you folks, we have them at 1 o'clock, first and third Tuesday of the month. And they're hybrid meetings, so you can jump in into a Zoom and also participate. So I have a business card here as well. You can email me, I can get you that information as well. So just lastly, I just wanted to give you an update on the Tanglewood subdivision. We did, and I emailed that out in my response to the board. There were 2 roadways that qualified for traffic management devices, speed humps. Oak Brook east of Tanglewood received 10 points in the grading criteria, and the Tanglewood west of Creekside also received 10 for speed humps. So the next step in the process would be for a petition for the installation of these devices to be circulated for the residents on those roadways. And then we can once that petition is received, it's valid, we would then enter into an agreement with Superior Township for the funding of those speed humps. So that's your update for the Tanglewood subdivision.
So in both cases, they need to have, in both cases, Tanglewood and any other street, you have to have that petition signed by 50%.
Correct. 2 parts. The petition for the 51% and then a funding agreement with the township.
So what was the criteria for Tanglewood in terms of the qualifying criteria that was listed?
So this 85th percentile speed on Oak Brook was 34 miles an hour. So that was 9 miles an hour over the posted 25 miles an hour. So that automatically got 9 points. And then the last point was there's no sidewalks in that neighborhood, so they got that 10th point with that. And the same was true for Tanglewood west of Creekside. 85th percentile speed was 34 miles an hour. And again, that roadway segment does not have sidewalk. So that 9 plus that 1 point for no sidewalks got you to that 10 qualifying. And again, I will email this to the board members. You can certainly, anyone interested can email me and I can share that with them. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, correct. You gotta go to my.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, just for clarification, for any other resident on another drive that wants to have the survey that you just did, the testing, you just need them to complete a form with 7 signatures, and then you'll do the testing. Okay, so about, like, if they were to do that 2 weeks from now, approximately when would you be doing the testing?
So we would do the count program would start again in the spring. So we don't do that this time of year because Mother Nature can blow in the storm and we would tear apart equipment. So once we're outside of winter maintenance activities, we can do those counts. So absolutely, you can email me that petition. Anybody that's interested in any road segment on a subdivision road, again, has to be a subdivision road, has to be a 25-mile-an-hour roadway, and then we'll start that process.
Then it has to be 7 homeowners, not.
Seven residents, homeowners, correct,
On that drive?
on that road segment, yep.
If I can, clarification for one thing. Are you saying that Superior Township now is under 51% versus the 75 now? And now, is this new for Superior Township?
It's a criteria that changed for the county-wide. There's nothing specific for Superior Township. This procedure was revised January 1st, 2023. We changed that criteria from 75 to 51.
Okay, because as my understanding, that's been in place everywhere else, like Gibson Township, when I went through then, it was 51. When they start putting it in, so but now you change the whole thing to 51. I'm just trying to get clarification. I want to get an understanding.
Absolutely.
And start shooting. I'm not literally shooting. Sorry, bringing up some other, sorry, you know. I'll be over there tomorrow. Okay, so I just like to get an understanding where are we at?
I can let you know when that change was made, and if you've got a request for information.
Okay.
Under FOIA, we'll get you anything you need as far as what those changes and when that occurred. But it's specific to countywide. We don't have any specific policies for each township. It's the entire county.
Okay, because as I understood it was going through talking, because I first lived in Gibson Township in 61, and I've been out in Little Runner since 1970. But the criteria for them was 51, but over here it was 75. Okay, I'm just, like I said, I got, okay, but they never told me the 51 for Superior Township. That's my point. So, okay, so all I'm saying is if you lower it to 51 from 75, now we're gonna get consideration, but we still don't qualify. So my thing is, I gotta finish up what I'm doing to put this together. I think I know I gave you guys a copy of it, but they thought I was threatening. I wasn't threatening over here. I was seeing everybody from the bottom to the bottom. Okay, so that hit everybody, and I just want to know what's happening with the people that pay tax. No, I just want to make sure I get it right.
Thank you.
And
Any other questions?
just to clarify, the township has no jurisdiction over speed bumps. It is only a road commission issue, or if you're in a city, it's a city issue.
The only jurisdiction is it's an improvement to a local road. So from a funding perspective, we've got to determine on how it's going to get funded. It's a road improvement to a local road. And road commission doesn't have any jurisdiction of what goes on inside the city limits for any of the cities in Washington County. So we are responsible for the public roadways in the townships.
One other question I have. Has the road commission ever considered doing a pilot project with a removable, plastic removable speed cables?
We have not.
Is it something you possibly would consider?
I can certainly ask our engineering department and see if that's been done elsewhere with any success.
Well, they've done it in Ypsilanti City and they take them out in the winter,
Mhm.
but they're there on Washington Street.
Yeah.
Were they speed bumps or those, so it's a smaller device?
It's like a table. It's probably like 2 feet wide, goes up 3 inches. And it's not hemispherical. It goes up and then it's a plane and then goes back.
Okay.
And it does slow you down.
Yeah, and then on Second Avenue, all the way up and down Second Avenue, they got removable speed bumps that goes up and down.
But the one thing I want to make everyone understand is like the city can do what they want with their roads because it's the city. And townships come under the jurisdiction of the road commission for road improvements.
Correct.
But if we were willing to fund.
We still want to apply our programs and criteria countywide.
But if we can get all of our residents over there to say we want to do something, and they're signing a petition, and we're coming before you and saying, this is a problem, you might not see it, but we see it.
Right.
And if we're willing to fund it, could we discuss possibly doing a pilot?
Absolutely. I think with the petition in hand and that we can talk about, the criteria again.
So you do, I want to be clear. So if we wanted to fund it and we had the support from the residents, we could tell you that you don't have to meet, they don't have to get to 10 points. Is that what I'm hearing or no?
Well, the township board can request if that's your desire, then much like you made a motion and a resolution last time. Now we're having a conversation.
Or we
Or we can make those 9 points happen.
Well, again, we will review it when we get there. But I think part of our criteria is, we want to make sure that the residents truly want those improvements.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Matt, we're gonna take 2 questions and then we have to move on with our agenda.
You've got a long agenda. I understand a lot of work to do.
Otherwise, that would be
Sir,
your.
you have to step up to the microphone.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your patience standing up here taking all these questions. I just wanted to, for a point of clarification, you spoke that the Stevenson, when you did the count, it only reached 5 points, correct?
Right.
Can you just specify, where they received points and where you didn't receive points?
Again, I can share this with anyone that would like. So for the 85th percentile, there was a 30-mile-an-hour, so that received 2 points. The volume of traffic, one segment got 1 point, another segment got 2 points based on the volume. We did not have any crash history for 3 years. I know there's been statements made that there's been crashes or near misses, but we did not have any documented correctable crashes over that 3-year period. So we did not award any points there. There's a school within 1 mile, so we got a point there. There's a major pedestrian generator, the library, so we got a point there. And there are sidewalks present on all segments, so there was no points awarded there. So that gave a total of 5 points. And again, I'm happy to email this to the board, anyone that wanted that information.
One other question. One other question. Since we got a member of the Washington County here, I'd like to know, whenever there is an accident and Washington County is called out, don't they make a record of that?
That's what you do to.
Yes, that's the UD time. So I'm just saying, the data that you got, it won't comply with if they go check their records of these accidents that happen.
So we check the same database for the UD tenants. So we look for correctable crashes.
Didn't know.
So when a UD 10 is completed, we complete it through our software system. And then it's sent to the state. The state is the one who manages and tracks it. And they hold the records for that, then they can pull it from a database through the state.
Okay, so what I'm just trying to get down to, I know and saw with my own eyes, these accidents, that come out of there, and one, about a month or 2 months ago, was one right there on Stevenson and Whitman Street, and then no, down from Ricky there. No, Heather. Where he hit his truck, almost hit his, he had to grab his kid out of the way, he was getting run over. So I know that Washington was out here. And when they ran up in my yard, the Washington County Sheriff was chasing the car down to my street. And I saw him write him up a ticket, okay? And I had a long talk with the young man and tell him, if you're driving like this in an area like this with kids in your car and you're a young fellow, I said, you're lucky and thank God that you didn't kill the kids or yourself. And I hope it's a teachable moment to you. And he said, he seemed like he's a pretty nice young man. I'm just saying. So then, like I said, when I started doing my homework, I know that there, in my neighbor that lived down the street from me was in an accident coming out Stevenson. My son's car was in an accident right in front of my house. So I know that the sheriff was out here. I'm trying to find no trouble. I'm just I want to make sure, because when I start checking up on the road commission, the communications I got they wasn't truthful. Okay? And I just tell you this straight, and I can prove that to you, anybody that questions it.
And just give you a little my back. I was a union rep. It will run assembly plant. It was over 1776 before I went down to, UAWGM department. And negotiated 3 enactments of contracts, 2 local contracts, and I specialize in health and safety. And I know a little bit how to put together cases.
Excuse me, Jerry.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We
You know,
got to
we-
move this agenda forward.
We need to get to our agenda. We have one more gentleman that wants to ask a question, and then we're gonna be done with this presentation, and we're gonna move on with our agenda.
I'll be brief. I just would be curious to know what
Your name-
percentage,
your name,
oh,
sir?
sorry, my name is Brian Clark again. Be curious to know what percentage of people have actually ever met this criteria. Like my subdivision, I live in Brookside, and we can't meet quorum to save our lives. We've never done it in 20 years of the subdivision. So 51%, I don't care if it's even including renters. Who's met it? And a caveat I would like to know, if the people that have met it, are we talking about newer subdivisions where you have 20 or 30? That's all. Thank you.
No, as Mr. Clifton pointed out, that there's a numerous subdivisions just across the way in Ypsilanti Township that have met that criteria.
And been approved, that signed by the neighbors, over 51%?
I would have to check the records, but that's been our policy. In fact, the threshold used to be, like I said, 70.
All right, Matt, thank you. We
Thank you for the
appreciate
time.
you coming out tonight.
Thank you.
And we're gonna need to move on with our board meeting here. If I can get a motion on the consent agenda,
So moved.
anything to be removed?
I'd like to pull out the zoning report and the controller's report, please.
Zoning and control. Okay, anything else? from anybody? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Okay, so, you wanna, we'll do the zoning report first?
Okay, so, we're going to talk about this later on the agenda when we get to escrow accounts. But, the zoning report did not have any information about the Infinity, mistaken $100,000 payment to them in 2021 that we've been working on. So there, I wanted to make this really clear. 2 years ago, we paid Infinity $100,000 because they asked for that amount from the DG owned escrow account. We paid Infinity that amount. Now, and I would think that in the zoning and planning report, we would have had that mentioned. And if we didn't have a mention there, why wasn't it mentioned in the controller's report?
I don't know. Yes, maybe because it was on the agenda tonight. I don't know. Answer your question.
Right, the board deserves to know when things like that happen, because that's a material,
I understand.
material weakness, and that probably will come up with our plan.
So, when that was brought to my attention, I asked the person to go and inform Lisa and Annette of what happened, and Laura with you and talk to you about that.
Laura, can you speak up, Laura? Thank you. Judy, come.
Good evening, I'm Laura Bennett, the planning and zoning administrator. Can you repeat the question, Ken?
So when you came to me, and said, was this error?
I did, I came to you incorrect.
Can't remember when, May, September, October, November?
October.
October. And I asked you to go talk to Lynette. I'm not sure about Lisa. I think I told Lisa.
No, you didn't ask me to talk to either of them.
Thank you.
You told me that you would talk to Lynette,
Not that day,
not that day.
but I eventually did.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's all. So,
So the problem with it, Kim, is when something like this happens, especially with that amount of money, it's special, $100,000. When we sent money to a person who just called up, knew that DG escrow probably never asked for what was remaining in that account. And he was able to get $100,000 paid from another owner's escrow account. And we didn't even understand that that happened until DG requested money in September. And this is sort of the second time when we're not, the board isn't informed, the things happen. And it's just, you go about your business and, if you don't ask questions, we don't find out. And this is just $100,000 is a crazy amount. to be-
So first of all.
Speaking of my-
Thank you. I do nothing with the bonds.
So.
I don't handle bonds.
But Laura went to.
And she reports to you?
Laura went to tell you about it.
She came to me to tell me that she had made that mistake. That's right.
She actually requested the funds, but in fact, there's a check and balance that happens before you issue a check.
It doesn't go through me. It doesn't go through the super.
So Laura, how did you know? Since you're up, sorry, that we sat down. How did you know that you had to go to Lynette or Lisa? How did I know that we needed to talk to them about it? Or was it just when you were approached to ask, when people asked you about what happened?
When I was asked.
All right, anyways, so items like this, I think in the future, it would be good just to have a little blurb, when something happens and the board's informed, and certainly the controller could let us know too. Or can in this report. Okay.
Anything else? All right, so we move on to communication from C2PSP. CSP. Okay.
That's just written communication.
Okay.
Consent agenda.
And whole planning, so.
Did you get a control?
That's part of consent agenda.
You've done everything.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Wrapping.
And the communications is part of the consent agenda, so now we're on to
Okay.
unfinished business.
All right, so on unfinished business, we go on to Stevens Drive speed bumps, which I think we discussed tonight. Is there anything new on that? Okay, then we go, bid for septic tank services. We received 2 bids for septic tank services. And I thought that would be on for new business tonight. So.
We talked about it before, so we,
Okay, so we received 2 bids, one from Popolac and one from, Bolton.
Oh, no. And this is for the,
The septic tank.
didn't.
And
both of them are in there. We are trying to, preserve paper by, printing front and back. That's why your board books aren't as heavy.
So are those bids?
Yeah, it's there. It was on the backside.
Is there a resolution? I see the bids, I don't see this. Just.
I thought we would get some new business tonight that we make a decision, but we can at least talk about. The 2 bids were widely separated in price. And I called up Randy Moore, talked to her, and I said, now, you can put that entire septic system in there with the tanks and everything, $8,200. She said, yeah, we can do that. And she said, the board wants to employ us, we'll send a contract. Then we have this bid from Cole. And just from my experience, I honestly don't see how anybody can put a septic field in for $8,000 these days, $8,200. And and when we make this decision, which I really wouldn't want to get into another LaSalle position. To get into another LaSalle, we'll go to the lowest bidder. I know Tom Freeman has been working with Kovalac to some degree on, I think, the permit possibly, is that it? And so, we got the permit, we sent it out, 3 bidders, but only 2 came back. And I don't know if you want to put this off to next month, I thought it was gonna be on for action tonight. But
Should we have them do a presentation, and especially if you have a question about what your concern is, should they go come and do a presentation?
well, I guess you get the board wanted it. And lots of people in this community have septic systems. And I don't know anybody who can do it for 8,200. I don't know.
When would they put it in, would this be later on in the year that they put it in? Have you checked?
I think it would actually be within a reasonable amount of time.
They can't do it now.
So probably after April then.
Hi, my name is Tom Freeman. I live in Dixboro. Actually, when we talked to Colac, they said they do that work year round. They work 12 months a year. Once, they, because they're gonna go down, they've got to go down, more than 2 feet. They're gonna get down below the frost line. And they're gonna do it. The cleanup's gonna be a little ugly until it does become spring, but they do the work year round.
Do we check references on these?
I know that Cobolac's been around for, they did our septic here, they did our septic at the fire station, and they do our pumps. That's why I guess.
And when you look at the bid, it's just a couple of sentences, that's.
You mean the other?
Yeah,
Other
that's
one,
what
I mean, that's.
They didn't give any details.
Yeah.
Nobody called
I
Yeah.
Well,
check the references or other jobs that they have done?
I did not, but I asked her to specifically break out the price. And I couldn't believe they could do it for 1,800. And she said, we can do it. If your board wants us to do the work, we'll send the contract. And that's what we left with her. So she never sent a contract.
That's just,
Yeah, it
You
just,
mean
it doesn't
sounds
feel
too
right.
low?
Yeah.
so.
You don't know what to pay for.
Did we do the bids like we would normally do it through that bid site? I don't know.
Yeah. Big Mac.
Should we? Or no?
Yeah, it's a small project.
This is a small amount,
I wouldn't, I don't feel comfortable.
I just don't feel comfortable with an incomplete
No.
proposal. It just feels.
Can I make a quick comment about that? When the DDG board looked at the bids, our concern in looking at them, the Dixboro Village Green, the nonprofit that's involved in the Village Green, our concern was that whereas Colac gave a great detailed bid, the other one did not give a detailed bid. My concern would be that even if you asked at this point now, it'd be very easy for them to look at Colac's bid or any other. The bids are out there, very public at this point, and asking somebody to now put something together, it'd be very easy for them to put together a bid that went through those same points and they knocked 10% off. They said, well, as we look at it again now, 8,200, maybe not, but we can do it for about $1,500 less.
I agree.
Yeah, that was our.
But change orders and all sorts of things.
But change order.
So we got kind of looped in a little bit with LaSalle, and kind of got burned with LaSalle, because they were really better. On that particular one, because it was so much, this is less than 20,000, so it doesn't need to be bid. We went the lowest bidder because we kind of had to for the millions of dollars, and I think we all regret going with the lowest bidder. And I would kind of feel the same way about this. Did your group have a recommendation or?
Well, we had a chance to meet with Colac a couple of times. They came out and to do investigations and over the course of the months, up to the bid. And so they've walked the property with us. They tried to suggest other potential sites. Obviously, the Washington County Environmental Health did not approve of any other site except for exactly where it was then determined. So our experience with them is pretty strong.
And I sent everybody a copy of the health permit, which laid out everything that needed to be done. The tanks, the size of the tanks, the depths, the sand, the gravel, and everything.
So you remind me, everybody does work year round these days, because the first soil test was done in January, and I can remember standing there for 3 hours while a guy with a backhoe tried to dig down through that soil to find sand for it. So, yeah, everybody works 12 months.
Well, would the board feel comfortable then making a motion to move forward with the one tonight, or do you want another bid? Do you feel comfortable with it? I feel comfortable. I do.
I would agree.
Well, can I get a motion then to approve the goal? So moved.
Support.
Okay, it's a contract, so I have to roll
Finley, yes. Caviston?
No.
Lewis?
No.
Blinky?
Yes.
McGill?
Yes.
Seacrest?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So LaSalle Inc., I don't have an update on LaSalle. Maybe Lynette has something to say. I have not been in communication
that's
with.
put it on the agenda.
John Dennewood. I mean, I really think probably Fred should give us an update if anybody on the sense. No, Fred couldn't make.
Yeah, you just came in. You came in about 25 minutes ago.
He went to one night. When did you show?
25 minutes ago.
I can't see people out there.
15 minutes, that's fine.
Finish that one, I came up here.
Okay.
My understanding is that they're going into a facilitation is what's the next step in the process. We should appoint facilitation, that's basically an attempt to resolve the dispute with using a third-party mediator. What I would recommend, is that the board appoint, some members to appear with Mr. Dennewood at that facilitation. One of the things that, is, as it relates to facilitations involving municipalities, this needs to be very clearly, and the facilitator will know this, but nonetheless, we need to be clear on this. The individuals who are appearing on behalf of the board do not have authority to bind the board. Okay, you are going basically as advisors and as people to relay. I think that we always make it very clear whenever we're doing a facilitation with a municipality that until such time as the board actually votes, there is no settlement. So even if we're able to tentatively reach an agreement with LaSalle at that time, until such time as that matter comes back before the board for a board vote, there is no settlement. But I would recommend that the board appoint, well, we don't want a quorum. So we want to have less than 4 members present at that facilitation who can then report back to the board with their recommendations and and to let them know what occurred during the course of the facilitation.
Has that date been set yet?
I do not have that date, Tim. I will look.
And that's about private facilitation?
Yes.
It's not through the court? or-
No. Something like this, they're getting someone who's an expert in, contract law. By the way, January 31st, I'm getting. My surgery is. In matters involving a facilitation of this sort, it is always recommended that we retain a facilitator who has knowledge in the area of contract law, and that's what they're using. It's got construction law, not just contract, but construction law. So they will be retaining the service. They have retained the services. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I can pull it up here in a second. That will be handling that. But again, remember, it is not binding. It is not arbitration. It's facilitation. Arbitration is where the arbitrator makes a decision, and that takes the place of any court determination. So that's the difference. I'll look here, and if I find it, I'll let you. I'll look it up, let you know.
Thank you, Fred. The update on the easement on the Dixboro project property.
Can we go back to what we were saying now? If there's gonna be 2 or 3 people for the facilitation for that?
Fred, usually it was, in my experience, the facilitation was one person and the attorney, but I don't think 2 or 3 is a problem, is it?
It's not quorum.
So
I think it would be.
In fact, I have always recommended, when I'm doing facilitations on behalf of other communities, when I'm, when I'm handling the list litigation, I always like to have 2 or 3, because it gives me a better understanding of where the board's, the comfort level is, rather than having one person. So I think, 2 to 3 people.
Okay, so, generally the supervisor goes, Fred, is that true?
Generally a supervisor, and 2 other people, whoever the board elects to put on there. They were looking at, by the way, Keith Brooks is the facilitator in this matter. And,
Fred, how long have you had this?
this, I think you guys also received it too. I'm not the only one who gets these emails
Who received it?
right here.
I received it.
This one I'm looking from December 14th was sent to myself and Ken. But Mr. Denno has been communicating with.
We have not received anything that I know of, but I've been busy with elections.
I would like to volunteer myself to be on this if anybody would support me.
I don't have one for you, but I'm wondering, should we have somebody from the utilities department involved in this?
Oh, I think, can we do that? Oh, I think that would be a great idea. That would be a great idea.
Oh, yeah, as long as, like I said, all you want to avoid is having a quorum present, because
That's
that's
a great idea.
It should be Ricky or Matter.
Yeah, that's a great.
Anybody else?
You're not able to communicate.
No.
I'm busy with elections.
How about just me and Bernie?
And you tell somebody from the.
Yes, but on the board, 2 of us. Are we all in agreement with that?
I am.
I don't think we need a motion.
I don't think so either.
We'll just, Fred, just communicate with Bernie. Well, the whole board, Bernie and I would be.
I'm gonna send an email to, Mr. Denno and let him know that, we just like it.
Update on the easement on the Dixboro project property. Is this for the pathway we're talking about?
I think this is the property in front of Salva's place. You said you were gonna come back to us on that when we made the.
Sava had signed,
Speaking to the mic, please.
Sava had signed the easement, and then she sent an email to Nancy and said, don't record it. I think something, is that what you said, Nancy? Sava, the deed for the easement. So she signed it, it's all set, but she asked us not to record it.
Tell me, what is that? Is she just giving us the easement?
She's giving us the easement across 2 properties. And then Landau is gonna give us an easement, but I have to get her a letter. I just talked to her this last week. I have to get her a letter so that she can take it to the IRS and show about how much she lost by donating it, so she can write it off, so we're putting it all up to figure out the value.
So you said it was donated to someone?
To us.
To us.
Okay, it'll be donated to us, yes. And then we bought the one from Mr. Lawson. The rest of them are in the public right of way, with the exception of Andrew Grant, who got a hold of me today, and he's on the corner of Plymouth and Dixboro. And he's unwilling to give the property to us. I would prefer just to send out to everybody. He made a monetary deal. And I like to send that out to everybody. I can send it out to you tonight or tomorrow. And then I want Fred to draft a document that was similar to Landau, not Landau, Lawson, and get them in here and see if we can approve it. So that's where, and then we're done, and the bids, I think, have gone. Have they gone? You know?
Yes. Claire?
Both MacArthur and the Plymouth Road pathway are currently being advertised. Bids are due on February 1st. So we should have,
those bids before the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Claire. And then, the return of the Brenda McKinney laptop.
And you said you were gonna check on that. with
I
them.
did. And Brenda says that she left it here, and she does not have a laptop at her home. That's what she told me. I have nothing else to report.
Do we take inventory, like annually, equipment?
We have an inventory on all the equipment that we have. Yes.
So can we
Or
just-
would have been left in the treasurer's office. So anyway,
So I think Irma might have ended up with that.
no, Irma didn't end up with that one. She ended up with yours. One of yours, yeah.
I only had two. One was destroyed, and I just ordered the other one.
And you had another one also, but that's not it. But if that's the answer you received, what can we say?
It's the answer I received.
Okay.
And then CFL or GFL tabs, I talked to Sam Merrill, I'm not sure what his last name is, right off the top of my head. And he said that they will begin to redetail the cards at the beginning, at the first of the year. So I will call him tomorrow and that we need to get some plan and action on that.
Can I come back just for a second on everything? The facilitation is not scheduled for February
February what?
22nd at 9 a.m. There, in addition to the individuals that are there, that we've discussed here, also, George Sackhoff will also be present as part of the engineering.
Well, you know, there was a guy who called me. Was it Steven something?
Mark Sassick?
Sass, last name, and he asked me if we think we were okay with George attending. I said, do you think he's a necessary party? He said, yeah. So I said, I don't have a problem.
All right, I just want to let you know, so Mark had to know. And I'll
He's
send
very
you,
hard.
send you the location.
On that. All right, that takes us to A and B, which we moved up, which now is to discuss the letter, Lynette, that
Yeah, just discussing all that was supposed to be in closed session. I'm sorry that my previous deputy had to leave. But I wanna start by, and this may take some time, but I'm glad everybody is still here, those who are still here. Back in, excuse me, yeah. Anyway, back in 2017, August 21st, 2017 board meeting. I read a statement before resolution was passed. And it says this: I would like to preface my comments by saying this is the first time since November 2016 that I am not in agreement with what Supervisor Schwartz is recommending. I hope there is no fallout with the comments I'm sharing in regards to our working relationship. I am not questioning or trying to usurp his authority, only concerned as an elected official if we are doing the right thing, which is the bottom line for me. Backstory. Ken contacted neighboring township officials inquiring if they are aware of anyone who has the skill set to replace Bob Stanton in early May of that year, Bob Stanton. No one surfaced, but Jeff Castro called back in May and said he would retire from Yucca and take the job. Please let me finish all my comments.
probably.
That's what, okay.
Yes, that's good.
Concerns surfaced with Ypsilanti officials were Jeff pulled back. Ken first stated to Brenda, back then Brenda McKinney, and me, that he would enter into a contract with Mr. Castro, who sets the water rate for Superior Township. I immediately questioned the ethics as it relates to paying someone who's in charge of Yucca and also receiving $350 a week while employed with Yucca. I asked that the contract would include hours of working, time of day with the township, and the hours working with Ricky. That's Ricky, my brain is tired. Thank you, Ricky Harding,
as what he classified as a mentor and or tutor. Weeks went by with no conversation until Keith Lockheed sent an email on August 14th regarding what we were going to do as a township to employ Mr. Castro. Basically sharing some of the same concerns I had addressed in previous discussions regarding the matter. Supervisor Schwartz decided to make him a temporary employee, which would have been mentioned in his supervisor's report, instead of getting board approval via resolution. I referred to back in some of the DEQ interim operation policies and procedures at the time. Suggested a contract outlining position and or posting the position for Rob's replacement. It was from that point on that my life became miserable in this township. I worked in higher education for 39 years. 29 of those years were at EMU. When I entered politics, real politics, I said to myself back then, if I can make it through the politics at EMU, I can definitely go into real politics and make it. Boy, was I mistaken. I was mistaken because I did not know the roadmap that was put in place for Jeff Castro. And I interfered with it. And there's some board members that know about this. I see their heads are down, but there are two board members that came in. Thank you. There are two board members that came in who addressed these issues and destroyed that whole plan. But in the process, my life and my elections have been made miserable. I can go through details. I have many articles to share with you. Please, you cannot interrupt me. No, you can't.
I'm the chair, and the issue was to be the response to.
This is my response. This is a part of my response because what you have done, Ken, is that you have gotten my deputies. One of the reasons why I keep my deputy or my deputies are around me because Ken goes into the office when I'm not around and make comments. You look good behind that chair. He's saying this to yes, he is doing this. You all have no idea who I'm sitting next to. This man has interfered with the operations. He's interfered with my staff as it relates to Carolyn. I wish she was still here because what I would say to Carolyn is, I am sorry. I am sorry because the last 2 weeks, it's not what it's everything that's how she's saying it, but I can say to you that there are 2 letters of resignation from Carolyn. And I'm going to share these with each board member. Please take one. The first letter, this first email is concerning the sexual harassment case. I had Carolyn looking up some information for me when the email went out as it relates to the sexual harassment claim. And I'm sure that the supervisor thinks that I'm responsible for all of that, but I'm not really responsible. I was informed by a board member that anything that I know that's going on, I have the obligation to share with every single board member. So I did. Based on our attorney's recommendation, I did share that email with the entire board. So I'm trying to figure out, are there state regulations that's going on? I wasn't even in the office that day. If you look at Carolyn's email at the bottom, it says, since reading the disturbing email sent by Supervisor Schwartz, I have suffered severe panic attacks. It has been extremely difficult for me to maintain professional behavior while at work. I cannot assist you any further with this matter and understand that my refusal to do any further tasks in regards to this matter may impact my employment. And that she needed to leave. I had no idea what was going on with her. And I emailed her back and her response was, thank you for your understanding. Landis did contact me yesterday on your behalf. There's no need for you to apologize. You had no way of knowing this would happen, nor did you cause any of this. So Carolyn's first letter of resignation was on November 29th, on a Wednesday. And it says, Dear Clerk Finley, please accept this letter as my formal notice of resignation from my position as clerk administrative assistant at the Charter Township of Superior. My last day will be December 13th, 2023. It is my intention to complete all shifts scheduled for me during this period. Thank you for this opportunity. That was dated November 29th. Before she sent that, I was in here and Carolyn came up to me and told me she was resigning. And I asked Carolyn, I said, why are you resigning? And she said to me, it has nothing to do with the job. I'm doing this as a favor to someone. And it'll be closer to home. It had nothing whatsoever to do with anything. So I said to Carolyn, I said, Carolyn, you know, if it did, I would be very concerned about that. Then Carolyn said to me, I will come in and help you anyway. I will come in and I will do precincts. I'll come in and help you set up any equipment, or I will run your absentee count board. And Carolyn and I discussed that. I received emails from Carolyn wishing me a happy Thanksgiving. And we would converse, all three of us. Landis was on it too. I had no issues and no problems until those last 2 weeks. So Carolyn at one point made a comment to me. We were discussing her last 2 weeks. I said, Carolyn, you have to give me 2 weeks, because she said, well, they really want me to start now. I said, well, you know, you're supposed to give me 2 weeks. So lo and behold, I think that stayed with her, the 2 weeks, and it didn't help that, excuse me, Landis, I must say this, because it did hurt her feelings. The Monday, Landis was asked by the county to be a part of something that took him away from the office for 4 days. And it was for the county elections for the training, and he was a part of it, and he had to spend 4 days over there. And Landis didn't come in that Monday, and that project and that program was from Tuesday through Friday. We had to get minutes out. So I asked Carolyn to work on the minutes. I sent an email out to the board saying, we have a movie star. Okay, and I was referring to Landis. But yeah, he's over there doing that. And Carolyn's sitting up here getting a lot of the work done here during her last 2 weeks. Okay. That didn't help, I'm sure. And what's most important that didn't help is the fact that I did not share with the board the first letter. I didn't share with the board the first letter because Ken came in after no, I don't know if it was during that time, it was before then. Ken asked Carolyn when he heard someone say congratulations. He said, well, are you leaving? I didn't want Ken to know. I'm being upfront honest. That's the last person I wanted to know. I didn't want Ken to know because I knew that something was going to happen between this one letter. So Landis and the other thing Carolyn didn't do was that she was, we needed someone to stay here at the township, and we had a training meeting December 7th, the same day she was in Ken's office. But someone overheard Carolyn say to Supervisor Schwartz, oh no, I'm just leaving. There are no issues. There's no issues at all, okay? Because he asked her the comment, are you leaving by force or by choice? He asked her that. Why would he ask her that? So while Landis and I were gone for 2 hours, The supervisor had her in his office. Now, in the meantime, Carolyn was thinking, I wasn't gonna give her vacation time. She never came and asked me. I would have given her vacation time. Carolyn was an excellent employee. An excellent employee. Your newsletter, Carolyn helped put those pictures together. In fact, Nancy, there was a time I couldn't get in touch with you because I wanted you to write a letter, because you would call me and say how great the newsletter was. And I wanted you to put something in writing, okay? So I'm just letting you know she was an outstanding employee. Carolyn left by choice until she got into his office while Landis and I were gone to a 3-hour meeting. And this is not the first time this has happened. It happened with previous deputies. I'm at lunch with one, and then when she gets back from lunch, I can imagine what was said. And she basically said to me something that was very insubordinate, but I wasn't gonna deal with that, and I left it alone. Because I have no idea what he does when he gets someone for 2 hours or 3 hours. But I'm gonna tell you this. That's not the Carolyn I know. It's Supervisor Schwartz. I have no idea what you're doing. But I'm gonna say this too. That's happened to me every time it's near elections. You have the previous clerk, Dave Phillips, who made comments. You were sabotaged during that election. You have the previous clerk that made comments to me that the supervisor said, you better not help her with those elections. Yes, let me finish.
No, because it's all.
No, this is not hearsay.
It is absolute hearsay.
Can I finish?
We have two regarding the veterans.
You know what? Who have something to gain. You sat there and you had no idea. The day Lisa and I received our increases, you made a comment when you walked in the door, Ken, and you didn't even know that someone was over near the machine. You walked in upset. Paula's gonna run for clerk. And Lisa, taking that raise, she put a knife in her gut by taking that raise. Yes, you did.
I was upset with you gave raises $6 an hour to deputies.
Then I have the floor. Do I not have the floor?
No, you do not. I am the moderator by statute.
So are you gonna cut me off? Okay, so this is what's going on, board. Since he's gonna cut me off, I have lots of material where Ken has made comments to, with Jeff Castro making statements as, not only do I have one, I have 2 more. That's a problem. Please, please.
Jeff Castro was approved by
Jeff?
the board 6-1.
You want to keep talking about the
And
board. I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna finish.
I am going to finish.
This person, I went to the sheriff's department 2 months before my election, and I said,
What election?
the one I'm dealing with now. I said,
Presidential primary?
you may have the floor, but you're gonna let me finish.
I
This
have
is-
a right if I feel. that
So,
that's-
okay, so since he wants to do this, I'm gonna let you know that all of this, I protected a department. I protected utilities. Utilities no longer report to him because what he did to those employees once someone came complaining about him. I protected them. Jeff Castro is not an employee to this very moment because 2 new board members came on and they started looking at this. Ken does not like anybody going, let me finish. Ken does not like anybody going against him. He will come at you with a dagger. He's a misogynist. He doesn't like women that comes after him. And I'm not going to use the R word, but there is a racial divide. That divide includes all those individuals that have been getting promotions or coming in here lately. Okay, that racial divide also includes you and me, Lisa. Ken sat there and made a comment that he was gonna not support his own raise. He supported his and he didn't support ours. Okay, so I am going to, so anyway, the last thing I'm gonna give to you, I'm gonna give you all this information, and the last thing I'm gonna give you is how deep the river runs as it relates to Jeff Castro. How deep the river runs as it relates to Hyundai, what Ken has done, and he covers himself up by saying, you approved it. Well, guess what? I have an article right here. The same thing happened, and I just received this. I had no idea. The same thing happened in Augusta Township. Please read this article, Augusta Township. The exact same thing happened in their utility department.
That is false. You are slandering me at this point.
It was public information. It was in the news.
Listen.
I'm not slandering you. Please look at the article. It's the exact same thing that happened in our utilities department. And I don't need to read it. So I am a victim here. Please listen to what I'm saying. This man has been setting me up the minute I did not go with Jeff Castro. Even less than 8 months ago, he's sending an email out to Bernice. He slandered me by saying, I don't like Mexicans. I don't even use that terminology. He slandered me by saying, I mock Asians. I've never mocked a person's ethnicity in my life. This man, anybody, and there are board members up here that can attest to this. This man will take a little bit of the truth and twist it and make it the biggest lie in America.
Right.
And get away with it. So I'm done, and please, here you go. I'm done. So please understand that I am being retaliated against. I've been retaliated against the day, August 17th, that I didn't go with Jeff Castro.
But the board.
And Jeff Castro, I messed up his retirement because he had a private meeting with the utilities department where he was gonna give him 19 hours a week for $70,000. And I rest my case.
So, we had two of your former deputies here. I'd like to take the liberty of asking them if they represent anything to sabotage, to you guys to sabotage Lynette's office.
I will not,
Listen,
no.
listen, I want to recognize Paula Jefferson.
First of all, Ken, Paula Jefferson.
Wait, you're slandering and you're libeling me.
No, I'm
Paula
not.
Jefferson was.
Paula Jefferson received a letter from me. Okay, the bottom line is, anytime something like that happens, and then she's the person that can say it's gonna run against me. There's a personal agenda here. So for you to have them stand up, I have a person that used to work for Paula Jefferson, the wife of one of our employees. She couldn't sleep at night. She says the most miserable environment in Plymouth Township. I've had people that, for some reason, they all ended up going to interview at Plymouth Township. How did they know about Plymouth Township? Paula, to me, is not.
Okay, I'll speak. I was her first deputy, and I got a couple points that kind of line up with Carolyn. I'm not a perfect person, but when I got to that job, my mother encouraged me because it was the first job I had in my community, because we were kind of a bedroom community. So I left United Way, which I had only been there for a couple months, to take this job closer to home. So I started a week after her. When I got into that office, I was told to learn that job. We were both brand new and teach her job. So I had to learn the job. I'm like, I don't know just as little as you. Maybe we should be learning together. So originally we had HAVA, which is the Help America Vote Act. They had computers they paid for. So that computer was in her office. So we kind of had to go in there and process our ballots and our voter files in that office with the filing cabinet. Eventually, around 2018, the state updated it where you can sign on and work QBF from anywhere. So I said, great, I can process ballots, process applications from from my seat in the office. She keeps telling me it's really nasty. You need to come in here and work in the office. At that time, I'm about 45 years old. I'm an adult. You don't speak to me that way out there in the office. So that was that. That was some of the things. I never had any privacy. Even if I went to the bathroom, her being a woman, she'd come find me. There was no place I could have privacy at. If I was having conversations with people, what are you guys talking about? If other people were having conversations that had nothing to do with our office, what are you talking about? So then other people who work for Brenda, other people who work for Rick, we couldn't have conversations. We're getting our work done, but she's like, I can't concentrate because they're having conversations. These are not your employees. You don't have a right to dictate to somebody else's employees what conversations they can have. So also, she's very tactile, which fine, but I don't like to be touched. But she keeps touching me. And I told her, I said, you touch me more than my mother touches me. She said, that was kind of sad, but I don't like to be touched. There was another woman who works in the office who also was touched. And her boss at the time said, write up a report. And so that's on file somewhere. You might want to have to look for it. Also, she kept the file on Ken and Brenda and wanted me to report back their comings and goings. These are also duly elected officials. No matter what you feel about them, as a deputy, that is not my responsibility to monitor fully grown adults who got elected by us, the people, and their constituents. And there's so much more that aligns with what Carolyn said, the isolation. So regardless of what you think about Ken, there's this thing where we gotta do zero sum, where there's gotta be a bad guy. Maybe there's two bad guys, maybe there's three bad guys. And maybe some things need to be done to bring in new people. But that doesn't make her a victim because Ken might have done some things she didn't like. You're on how I've been at Plymouth Township for 5 years now. And speaking to the comments you made about somebody who worked there, everybody else, I found out about it. Everybody else that I told was shocked. My boss was shocked. Everybody else who works under me was shocked. So I'm not sure where that came from, what that was about, but that was the one person who had an issue, one person. So on the 6th, 7th deputy, that's not normal. I was an election specialist for 2 years, and I've been that man's deputy for 3.5 years. And out of loyalty to him, I will serve until he no longer runs.
Paul, can I ask you a question? Did I ever entice you to go against Lynette? Did I ever tell you?
No,
anything?
Ken, I didn't say Paula did. And we're not gonna keep going here. Paula has something to gain. Ken walked in the door and said, Paula's gonna run for supervisor. Let me finish here. I'm gonna get Paula to run for supervisor. But the bottom line is, Paula, you stayed in my employ after receiving a letter. Okay, for a year. You did not deny anything that I put in that letter. You said, I didn't know you had such a great memory. And there's a lot in that letter. You stayed. Then what I did, I made the mistake of going to lunch with Ken and Brenda and making a comment what was gonna happen. Everything happens when you go on vacation. Everything happens. So you had your letter of resignation ready. That's fine, but you stayed after I sat there, and you're the one that would get in a truck when we would go, and you did drive. I don't like driving, so you did drive. And you made a comment, it's a shame I gotta drive my own vehicle with Ken always taking the vehicle home for his personal use. So you can always get.
Okay, so that's a lie. And the lie about, I never said you had a great memory. So now there's things you're peppering in here that are lies. And unfortunately, Carolyn can't defend herself, but you're lying.
Paula, you got something to gain.
One question you answered for the board. Did I ever do anything to persuade you in any way, knock Lynette down?
Absolutely not. And I didn't
say you did with
I don't have anything to gain. I'm still tossing around the idea of running. I was never gonna run for supervisor because I had no interest in it. Because I said, we at Plymouth Township, and even being here, these meetings are getting messy, they're getting uncivil. Who wants to come and be a board of trustees in these places? Because people are just mean. So that's not something right now that I'm 100% decided on. So I don't know what you're talking about. You can cook those ideas up. And another thing, and this was shared with me in confidence. You went to people and said, me and my brother, if something happened to you, I was gonna do something to you. I didn't meet your job. Well, 4 days before the election, she made me do all the training of the inspectors. I came in her office and I'm presenting, and she didn't like me standing over her. She's like, sit down. I'm like, I like to present standing up. And so we kind of went back and forth. I went back to my desk and I kind of talked to Laura. I said, I'm gonna go home and have lunch with my mother. I had enough money in the bank from severance I got from a company that had been purchased to not have to work for a while. And I went back in her office and said, if you would like me to resign, I will freely do so. She couldn't.
That's not true. That's okay. Did I ever say?
No, and just deal with what's on table. Look up the Augusta article, it's the exact same thing, and I've been harassed, and they've been trying to get rid of me.
Hello.
So I have,
I'm sorry.
no, it's.
I'm sorry, as a
it's-
trustee in 2024, and you all are talking about things that happened in 2018 or 17 or whatever. One, I'm shocked that some of the stuff hasn't been resolved. If it's employee related issues, it's further begs to why we need an HR person on staff. I'm also really, as the resident, right now I'm heated. That this discussion is even happening publicly. This is kind of a shame on everybody moment. And I'm grappling, I'm shocked. I feel like Paula, sometimes you just don't even want to be up here. It's sad. I'm here to take care of the people's business of Superior Township, and not rehash these personal feelings and back and forth vendettas. It's awful, it's ugly, it's vile. It just needs to stop. And I just want it to end because we're not taking care of people's business right now. I'm sitting here at 9:30 at night, not taking care of the business of our residents, and I'm pissed.
And Rhonda, Alex Williams, there's an email from him too. It happened before me. It happened while he was there.
This letter went from Carolyn to the board. You and Bernie said to me, it needs to be brought on to this board for an investigation.
And we did.
And that's what we.
But this is not an investigation. This is a full
It's
out.
not
public
just this letter,
action.
it's everything, but Rhonda, one reason I did it is because I am tired of my reputation, because I saved a department being trashed. I am fed up with it. I've never had anything like this happen to me in my life. That's why I chose not to keep it in closed session. Simple as that. And we can go on now, but I hope that the board look at other things that's across.
Can I make one more comment, from last meeting where you were talking about HR and employee evaluations? When I worked for 17 and a half years at Conway Freight, towards the end, before they were purchased, they started doing also, manager evaluations. They had only done employee evaluations, so it might be a good idea to also do boss and manager evaluations. Because your bosses are the residents, and if they don't know about people's behavior, they go voting blind. So it might be, you can get companies who can do two-way evaluations.
So, Lynette, you.
Let's go to the next subject.
We will, but.
No, Ken, Rhonda made a comment.
She made a comment, accommodate. Those two trustees, requested that this be brought before the board. I didn't request it.
It's not just that, they requested everything, my complaints that I sent to the board regarding you to be brought to the board.
You guys, why don't we just do this?
That's
Why
what
don't
I
we
just said.
get a small group, kinda whoever wants to, not a quorum,
Mm-hmm.
and figure out what next steps are.
Please. The
And
next
just
step.
stop it, okay?
I-
I agree with Rhonda, just stop this.
All right, so what are we gonna do about this letter? Because you guys wanted it on. Do we want
What
to
I
accept
just
it as?
said, we'll get, no, and you know what, I called MTA because, you know, when Carolyn, nobody answered her what she said, so I called MTA about her letter. She wanted her letter to be part of the packet. What I found out is we put so much in these packets, we load up all these letters. I was told, and I think that, Fred, you might know too, we can have a board policy on what we include in packets. What I was told is that you don't even have to have a packet, but we've included far too much in these board packets. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So not only should we, and you know, just talk about what the next steps will be for both of those complaints, but we should probably look at the board policies that haven't been updated since 2013, which if you look at them, there's been a lot of violations of board policy because they're outdated. So,
We just approved new board policies.
no, you did not.
No,
No,
we're not.
you didn't.
Oh, board
No,
policy.
no, we're talking about board policies. So maybe have a small, whoever wants to,
Look at all our policies, but we got,
but talk about what to
I have
do.
said it a million times, this group has to do better.
Yeah.
It's gotta be better.
Well, then why did you ask for this to be put on? Did you know?
You
this would
know,
be asked?
we
talked about the closed session to address the
Right.
issues that were brought up by employees. And that was all. All of this extra is unnecessary. I'm happy to always hear you out, to hear her out in the right format. But to bring all of this into this, I don't still haven't even addressed Carol. So I'm still, like, I'm still.
And there's a
So-
there's a precedent set with Mary Burton when she had her issues.
But
We did
again,
not
that is an
send
HR
that.
Any HR
You're right,
issue should
but
not
we
be
did not
being
put that.
discussed.
Send that, put
Okay,
it
so
on the.
can I'd like to make a motion, I'd like to
Yes.
make a motion, I'd like to make a motion, please, that we have a small committee looking at both of those complaints to figure out what next steps, if any,
I
that we
support.
do. She supports it.
So go ahead. What is the motion?
The motion is to have a small committee of the board to look into these two complaints and then figure out, make a recommendation about what they should do with it.
So we're talking about the two complaints of Lynette. I have not made it.
You talking
No,
about 5A and
Lynette
5B?
made a complaint
Yeah,
against
5A
you.
and 5B.
Carolyn made a complaint against Lynette.
Right.
To look at those two complaints and figure out what to
I
do.
think that's what you've done.
So that's great. So anybody,
That's all we do.
Well, I think it should be the folks that's working on the personnel committee if they have time to do that. The board members.
you are fine, I can do it too if you want.
Nancy, you don't have time?
No.
I
She does. Full-time and travel, so
So,
yes.
you want to do it?
I think it should be 3.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got Bill too.
So it's 3, you don't have quorums. No, that's 3 people can.
Like, who is it?
Three
Bill,
each one.
Rhonda, myself.
Wait a minute.
Okay, so let's have that motion that's stated and all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No opposed, so we move on.
I think Fred had something else.
I thought I had provided all of you last time with a copy of the materials from the insurance company with regards to HR.
Yes.
Has anybody looked into that?
Yes, well, we looked into it, we
That's on the
actually.
agenda.
We came up with a director position.
Okay, because I know that because that you were just talking about the need for revising.
Yeah, it's on the.
Personnel manual, and I just wanted to make sure that you had it.
Oh, we're also
Use
talking about
that.
the board policies.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on to, I guess this is resolution 01, but it would be C as far as our business. And that's the annual 2024 poverty exemption guidelines for the board review. Can I get a motion? Support? Any discussion on it? All right, so we got that rule.
McGill,
Yes.
Halverson. Yes. Lewis.
Yeah.
Schwartz.
Yeah.
Finley, yes. Linky,
Yes.
Seacrest.
Yes.
Unanimous.
So the next resolution is 02, that is to approve the Pfeffer Hanford Polka letter of engagement for this year's, actually, the 2023 audit. If I could get a motion on that.
So moved.
Any questions on it?
Yes, the amount of the payment for that contract's not included in the resolution. I think it should be.
Okay, I think it was 24,000.
Was it 24,000?
It's not in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's on the page, well, it doesn't have numbered pages, but on the signature page. The engagement administration fees.
Yeah, 24,000.
Yep.
And I would like, I would like Polka to break out how much we're paying for this firm to do the financial reports that they can.
At the end of the year.
No, before, as they're doing an audit, they actually prepare the
Financial statement.
the financial statements, yes. I'd like to have that broken out just to see how much that is.
Okay. We can. All right, so you call the roll, please.
The roll for Karen. Linky,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Seacrest,
Yes.
Finley, yes. Lewis.
Yeah.
Halverson. Yes. McGill.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Resolution 2024-03, hire, fire department firefighter. Chief, you and the inspection employee want to come up here?
Good evening, everyone. As you know, firefighter Nick Robson retired due to his injury. We sent out notices for application received for firefighter. We received 6 applications, 2 were rejected. We were having 4 to interview, 1 withdrew from the interview. On January 4th, on the memo that I sent to everybody, the panel convened. We interviewed the 3 applicants. At the end of the interview process, we selected the applicant James Gakin, who's back there. Sorry, I thought he was. Mr. Gakin was currently employed with as a firefighter for Chelsea Area Fire Department. He's been there for 9 years. He serves on the Washtenaw County Medical Control Board and is also a team member for the Washtenaw County Technical Rescue Team. Nick Robson was on the technical rescue team as well, so he would be a great asset to keep him on the team. I'd like to recommend or request of the board to hire Mr. Gakin. Under the condition he completes his medical, physical, psychological, and background check.
So Chief, who was on the hiring?
There was myself, Captain Bach, firefighter Oberstadt, and Clerk Finley.
And that's a recommendation?
Yes.
So moved.
Support.
Support.
So,
Got questions?
yeah, we don't have salary amounts on here, so we're not, again,
They come in at a wage.
Right.
they come in first.
Yes, it's under the union contract.
It'd be good to be in that, so what does that mean with wage?
It's under the union contract,
22 an hour?
something like that, yes.
Like 22 an hour.
So does that say it on here? I don't see it. I mean, it would just be good to put, when you're hiring someone that you're paying them. whatever.
It's not under my memo, but it's in the union contract.
Okay, so could we have a roll call vote?
Finley, yes. Dennison? Yes. Lewis?
Yeah.
Linky?
Yes.
McGill? Yes. Seacrest?
Yes.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm glad you could all say yes.
Unanimous.
Welcome, please stay.
What's the start date?
It's all depending on his physical.
Okay, so he's gonna get those done.
Yes, thank you.
All right, congratulations. So, the next is review escrow accounts. Do we have anything on this?
We should, and I can lead to it.
But we don't have any.
What you do in the, you have the trust and agency accounts, if you look at the controller's reports, you can find it, but
Okay,
I.
so you wanted this for me?
I sure, yes, I absolutely do. So the first thing I want to say is, Infinity never had an escrow account. That's, so they're the first one. They never had an escrow account. They asked for $100,000, got it, was out of the DG. We charged the DG account. A check was cut. Infinity was never going to even pay us. There was an agreement that Ken signed, with the,
Rick Marin.
no, well, Rick actually, witnessed it, but, and you signed it, and what Infinity had agreed to do is when DG asked for their escrow account back, they had $184,000 and some dollars in their escrow account. This agreement was that once DG asked for their money back, then Infinity would replace DG's escrow with $140,000. What happened was after Rick Marinette left, Laura became the planning administrator. Within a couple of weeks, the guy from Infinity, knowing that the DG account was still open, and that DG never asked for it, asked her for the $100,000. And that's how Infinity got paid, erroneous. So when we're reviewing escrow accounts, I just want to say at the get-go, Infinity never had anything. They owe us back $100,000. It's not our money, it's DG's money. They owe us back $100,000, plus they should have replenished that escrow account for $140,000, bringing that total to $240,000 that they really owe the township. So DG wants their money back, and you're gonna see in the next resolution that DG was asking for $184,000, but that got whittled down to $113,000. And we can talk about that in a minute, but DG has rights to their escrow monies. However, and I don't know if we're gonna try to pay, how we're gonna try to pay them when we don't have the Infinity erroneous payment back. Hyundai, I wanted to ask, did we ever release Hyundai's funds to them? We were supposed to send them back $211,000.
Sent them back, we need for.
Why is that? When there was $211,000 in the
Because
account?
that's what they requested.
Okay,
And
why?
it was- And then I asked Mark, would you make a donation possibly? Interest, and he said, get back.
All right, so that's sort of weird, okay, that to us, or to me as a financial person, why does the company, if they have $211,000, and he was asking for, actually, he was asking for like $204,000 plus interest in his letter. I just don't get how we can say, oh, hey, why don't you give us a donation?
I didn't cut the check, you know, my office had nothing to do with it.
Did we send back the checks to them, Lisa?
We sent out $184,000, however, that $184,000 was listed in the letter that is what.
Okay, so there's still a balance there. And what are we supposed to do with that balance?
I'm waiting for Hyundai to get back with me to see if they want it or whether they're gonna donate.
It just seemed, all right, this is very confusing.
Well, that's pretty.
But we can, no, it's not simple, Ken, because it's why would they not want it? And this is where I think we asked if we could be part of a meeting when you have a meeting with Hyundai and you dealt with them on your own. It just seems odd that a company would say, you know, I know you You've got all this, I know you've got all this money of mine, but you know what, you can have this, all right, so that's,
Well, why do you call him and ask?
I know. Anyway, then there's McTavish. McTavish is owed, like, I want to say they're asking for 41,200 that was assigned to McTavish. However, in the escrow account, there's 44,630 in the escrow account. And Rick Marinette had addressed this in 2018 that we should pay McTavish, but we never have. So we're holding on to another person or a company's money. It's not Superior Townships, it's McTavish. Something should be done with that. I don't care if he goes to prison or not, that's not nice.
He never requested.
But then we need to, we're holding on to money that's not ours, and why don't we,
We hold on to money that's not ours and
for how long?
until the improvements are made that they pledge to do.
But McTavish,
Then the inspector goes out there, looks, have the
we're
improvements
talking
been made?
Brookside and one side, and this, that.
That's still,
particular-
they're still developing houses.
Ken, I'm not buying it anymore. You
There's
can say
vacant
that,
lots over there.
but it's not them anymore. It's not them, it's now.
Well, yeah, Fred's the one who down that he's here.
Well, okay, so then you guys, at least I want to ask you this, what do we do with sheets? You know, when we send money to the state because someone has a claim that you please.
Please go in your mind, please, please, thank you.
It's usually in the spring.
Okay, so we've had this money for a long time. We should probably do that.
You can't just cheat if you know who it belongs to.
Then we gotta find them and send the money back to them again.
But the improvements have not been completed there.
There's other, people, developers way beyond now McTavish that have it. You know that. There was Infinity, there was DG, there was other
He
developers.
hasn't shown up on, I haven't seen him on ours.
McTavish,
Uh-huh.
it says DG, it's on trust and agency account, it says DG McTavish.
Can I explain that for you?
Go ahead.
All right. The total amount of the escrow was $184,000.
Right.
That was originally put in there by DG.
Right.
DG provided us with a assignment of $40-some thousand to McTavish. Therefore, when DG sent the letter requesting the $184,000, I indicated to them that we were not going to release the $184,000 because there was an assignment out there for $40-some thousand to McTavish.
Right, but can I just?
But let me just finish and then you
Okay,
can.
but there's issue with that 41,000. There's an issue with 41,000 because Rick wrote about it a few years back where the amount is actually 44,630.
Well, the amount that I'm looking
I
at, the
know.
amount that I was working off of was the $184,000. I don't have it right in front of me here, but it was $184,000. And the assignment, which was on the assignment sheet,
Right.
showed the 41. So that was the amount. Any amount beyond that would not belong to McTavish, because that was the only amount that was assigned to him. Okay? Now, as it relates to, so that brought the number down that they would be entitled to somewhere around $140-some thousand.
And then there's.
But there was we contacted OHM to determine what was the cost of the repairs that or the completion for DG would have to complete. That's where we received an estimated cost of $25,000. No, it was actually 25.
Your stuff.
I know, but it was close to 25. I spoke to asset management, told them we were gonna hold back $30,000. Because I wanted to make sure that we had enough to cover everything that needed to be done.
And it gets down to.
So that's how you got down to the number 113, all right? Was by subtracting what had been assigned to McTavish and the amount.
Oh, I get that, I get that.
Okay.
So Clara, you're in the audience. When I looked at the stuff, the emails from Ken to Crescent.
You have to come up, Claire, if you want to talk. Thank you.
The punch list or the $30,000, they weren't necessarily saying was DG's problem. It could have been Infinity's problem. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's whoever is currently.
Right, so it may not be DG that owes it, it's Infinity again. So they gave a $30,000 figure, but it's not, they did not say this is DG's. They didn't spend, But if they do have to,
No, they
because,
don't, because they agreed to accept that amount.
okay, so,
If
and
they
that's,
agreed to accept that amount, then there is no need for us to get into a discussion between DG and
I
Infinity.
get that, Fred, but I just think that fair is fair. And they, okay, fair is fair, okay, so, but I wanna make sure, what I wanna make sure as a board member, that that somehow utilities also gets that $13,000 back that we voted with, that hookup from Infinity. I wanna make sure utilities gets that, and I will not relent until they.
I don't control those funds. I have no control over any of it.
You were saying, it's just not right. So the 30,000 that we're withholding, we'll take 13,000 of that and give it to utilities because that's part of that punch list. And
That's not part of the.
you know what, we do some really screwy accounting here, and I'm, once I got into this, looking at all of these agreements where Infinity should have, how Infinity got that money is, we're talking about all this other stuff, but $100,000 goes to Infinity, and it's not, and they never did anything, they never put a dime in. And then,
Why we contacted.
well, they owe $240,000.
I understand, but that's not what I was, that's
So,
not.
all right, so I still think that we've gotta get, we can't just say, I saw some communication with you and the Infinity lawyer that just said that they didn't wanna give us back 100,000 because they wanna give us invoices against it. Bullshit. That is just pure bullshit, you guys. We gave them, and I'm sorry I'm swearing, but we gave them $100,000, have them pay that back, and then replenish that escrow account back, 140. Something's going on here, and I don't know exactly what it is, but doggone it, let's make it right.
I don't know anything about the 140, that's a separate matter.
All right.
I'm just pointing out, that's a separate matter.
Right.
If there's a bond there that's supposed to be out there, that has nothing to do with this discussion.
We were talking about DG yet, Fred. We were.
Well, you were talking about the entire thing and I was responding.
Yes, so,
I understand that, and that's why I was responding to the entire thing as to why, and I provided you with a letter from the attorney for Infinity saying that they acknowledge that they should not receive the 100,000 and that they will be returning.
They need to return 240,000.
I know that.
Okay, so
That's another matter.
all right. And then.
And you're confused, and you.
No, I'm not confused.
No, you're not confusing, you're conflating these two issues, which are separate issues.
They're separate issues, but they're related. They are related. When one company gets $100,000 out of the company that you're trying to make good by paying 113,000, there's not even 113,000 in that account to pay them.
Yes, there is.
No, there's not.
Because once we get the 100, we're holding.
Once we get the 100
Right,
back.
but I'm not paying them the 100 until I get the money back.
So, and that's not fair. That's not fair. So.
I can't help the fact that the money was paid out improperly, but the point is to get the money back and then pay.
But don't let them reduce the money, the 100,000 by invoices. They pay the 100,000 back to the township into the DG fund. Then they replenish the escrow as promised. Once DG gets their money with 140,000, then you deduct the invoices.
I have no problem doing as you're suggesting. I'm merely stating to you that the question of the $184,000 bond that was out there
I
before
got it.
is a separate matter from the 140. That is a separate bond and should be dealt with separately. I do not think it is appropriate to say, we're going to hold this or hold that until we get the rest of it. It's not.
Are you getting, are
We
we
should
not?
be getting the 140, if we're entitled to $140,000
We got
bond.
an agreement that says it, Fred. We got an agreement.
That's fine, and I'm not saying you shouldn't get it, I'm merely stating that.
I'm fine with them. I'm fine with your advice. I am. Okay. So the next thing, Ken, you never answered this. I asked you 2 times in an email to tell me what this Bank of Ann Arbor line of credit that says that, or letter of credit that says, in this, we certify that the Infinity LLC has failed to perform or comply with conditions of the agreement between the parties with regard to phase 2 of the site development. Therefore, we are entitled to draw on the amount of USD dollars, blah, blah, blah. What, I asked you twice, what does that mean?
I didn't have a copy, I asked you to send it to me.
And you're the one who supplied it to us with your December report. I mean, this is what's weird. You sent it to us.
Well,
And
I
then you're
told you,
asking.
I did not know what you talked about, please send it to me, and you didn't.
I told you what pages it was on, and I'm, listen, you know, you're like a child. And how you respond. This is your document.
Oh my God.
Well, this is the document, that you put in the direct, to append to the director's report last month. I told you it was on page 48 and 49.
I couldn't find anything, and I don't know why that was.
No, brother, you're the one who gave it to us. All right. So what I would like to do is have an audit of these accounts. I motion that we have an audit of these accounts to find out exactly what we owe these folks, and if we shouldn't be holding on to these monies, we send them back.
Support.
Do you want a roll call vote?
Yes, please.
Benway, yes. Seacrest. Halberstam.
Yes.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Linky.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
I got everybody?
Yes.
McGill, sorry. Unanimous.
But this here, Bernice, is a letter of credit that was posted in our favor by
Ann Arbor Bank.
posted in our bank, but
You know what, we're gonna do the audit, Ken,
Yeah.
that's okay, don't worry about it. We get on to the next thing.
I'd like to thank Laura for standing up and owning, you know, your role and whatever. And I personally do not hold you accountable for what's going on at this point in time.
Absolutely.
Agree.
Totally. Thank you, Laura. And I'm just, I know glad that we ask questions, you're honest.
Yeah.
You ask for background, you give it, and, I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for everything.
Yeah.
You keep us honest.
okay, so I don't know where that came from, to be honest with you. I was in a file, but that's just a letter of credit that's a copy that I received somehow.
Why did you put it in our?
I think I put everything, I don't even know who that is in favor. It's in favor of us, but drawn against the bank, against which developer? Doesn't even say.
It does say.
What does it say?
Infinity,
Oh, okay, then they submit that to us.
but they, never mind, we'll just.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Let's
don't
send
know.
this, let's,
Right. I don't
Let's just
handle
go
that.
on to the next.
yeah. So where are we now? Ken?
We're at the point of, motion to approve the agreement and the release of, claims. The one that Fred read.
It was the.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm still reading on it, but I agree. Yeah.
Agreement for the final meetings.
It's right after the.
Right after the question.
I think you're waiting on the motion.
So it's right after the, you know, it's coming up right after the final part of the report.
What happens?
Could be tab 5.
Okay, so this is on the agenda as approval of the agreement, full and final release of all claims between DG Township and Woodside Village, the project. So I didn't draft this. I think Fred drafted this, or the attorney for Woodside drafted it with TD Infinity. And Fred was here to explain it.
Actually, it would be DG. not
I drafted it.
You drafted it.
I drafted it because I wanted to make sure that we were being released from all liability if we release the funds. I didn't want anybody coming back and saying that they were owed additional funds, which is why I drafted. And, if you want to put on there that we will not release these funds until after we get the funds back from Solvay, from Infinity, I'm fine with that too. So, I mean, that's, all I was trying to do was to determine how much. And that's fine. Because we don't have the funds anyways, until we get it back. What?
I mean, you wanna redraft this and add?
No, because this is only this only deals with EG, our asset management, okay? This has nothing to do, I'm just saying that you can put on there that you approve the documents, but that we were not going to release the fund until we get the money back from Infinity.
The money for the water leak?
No, the money that the 100,000 that they received.
I thought they would assume, but.
No, I know,
About the water leak too, right?
Yeah, but we want the 240, yeah.
That, again, I'm not telling you don't vote for that, I'm just saying that is, to me, is that's a separate issue that
Separate
we.
issue, and we can say that.
All right.
And we can deal with it, and then this is just getting rid of asset management, that's all we're doing, is getting rid of their claim for what they had for 180,000. Which we, as I explained how we got to the 113. And then as far as the McTavish money, I'll just say, I don't know where, no one knows where McTavish is, which is part of the problem. He's never made a claim, we don't know where he is. Clearly, I have no problem with releasing his money, but we have no.
Maybe someone can find out.
Equity trust company, that's the custodian.
Right.
I mean, asset management had no idea about it either. I asked them, do you know where this guy is?
Well, that's another development. They're working for the, they may not know what status. I would like though to, if you look at some of the information, you drafted this, right? And you're drafting it with them, they're only asking, so because they only asked for 41,200 back, you don't want to look back to see where.
Because the assignment was for 41,200.
Um,
That's what the assignment documents that I have that we received. That's where that number came.
I've got a few backup things that Laura had, that brings it up to 44, 44,630.
All I saw was the 4,100, which was on
I
the.
can give you some of these, I mean, this goes back, it shows.
That's fine.
So-
You got that, but you see, even if they have a claim for that. My question is whether or not they'd be entitled, whether McTavish would be entitled to it, because the only portion of that was assigned was the 41,000.
Like, there's a signer documents right here, so
I
I
see.
see that, well, I see the one assignment for 41,200. And that one. 41,200 is what I say, 41,000. Yeah. 41,000, right. No,
41,200.
41,200, no, it's 41,200.
Yeah, there is a typo.
Yes.
Yeah, on one sheet.
I can read, I really can read. No, we're just saying this. So
So let me just tell this thing out. So there's a couple typos in this document. So the 108, it says 184,000, it's 180, and then twice. And then it's just.
Okay, but show me the other, I'm more concerned about the other money, like, where is the other assignment? But is there an assignment?
Do you have a motion on the table?
But this is part of the audit. Isn't this part of the audit?
So why are we still?
So why do we even have?
Okay, I have a question. Isn't that part of what we're gonna have audited?
Yes.
So why are we even discussing?
Well, he was asking questions.
Yeah, I think we need to keep moving.
I think we should do it together, audited first.
Let's just audit everything table until the audit, and then we can reissue whatever documents.
So should we just table this?
Or
let's move on.
But make sure that there's something in writing to, Infinity to get back to consider it's two separate issues.
I don't handle the bonds, you have to understand.
So who does that?
I don't know, if your building department does.
Okay, but.
I've never been involved in getting the bonds.
But you've been involved with Infinity's lawyer.
Oh, no, the only reason I got involved with Infinity's lawyer was relative to the issue of the payment of the $100,000, which has gone to them. Now, if you're directing me to get a hold of them for that purpose,
For the 100,000.
well, but if you're directing me to get a hold of them for the purposes of getting the additional bond, I have no documentation of it.
So we have.
I'm not saying you don't, but I need to get that, because that was never something that was.
Or, here, this was signed by Ken and the managing, Reno, so that.
So are we gonna do anything with this document tonight?
No, move on to.
Okay. Discuss process to sell township.
So, just before you walk, you are directing me at this point to deal with the $140,000 bond, right?
Yes.
So I thought that would be after the audit.
That's a part of the audit.
Nothing, no further action.
Until the audit.
Nothing. So it's already.
And then.
You got a motion to table?
This is discuss the process
Do
to
we
sell.
didn't do a motion to table until after the
No, we
audit?
do
Well, I
that. We
think
need to
we
do that.
didn't table it, we just didn't do anything on it. So
Well, that's, we need to do
We
a
need to
motion.
table, so I want to
Support.
motion to table. Yeah, I'll motion to table pending an audit.
Right.
And who do we want that audit to be performed by? Just more or a area?
Like, you know,
I was gonna say, just have him call it,
Okay,
ASAP.
okay.
Okay, so then, vote to have, all in favor of the motion, to revisit the art and be completed, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Discuss the process to sell commercial property.
Okay, so this was.
Speak into your mind, please.
This was my, I asked to have this on the agenda, and this is because last month, in Ken's report, he talked about, a gentleman approaching him to buy some property off of Plymouth Road. It was like 1.71 acres, I think. And the guy wanted to offer $65,000 for this property. And what Ken had told us at the last board meeting, that he would entertain, he would talk to the property owner, ask him to do a formal offer, purchase offer of this property. Then we would get an appraisal, then we would negotiate a sale, is what the email said. Well, right before the holidays, I decided to go see where this property was, and it's a pretty nice lot on Plymouth Road. And if you go through Mystic Forest subdivision, there's homes that are upwards of 1.2 million if you look at the price of the homes. And then I just looked at some empty lots property that's around that area that's for sale. There was one in Tanglewood and there was one in Glengarry. The Glengarry one was going for about 350,000, and the one in Tanglewood was going for about 340,000. So 65,000 was way low. So I was just like, oh, wait a minute, the board should first decide whether we want to sell that property or any property. Like the board should talk about the property that we own in Superior Township, maybe look at the roster, the list, and decide if there's any properties that we don't wish to hold anymore. Apparently, we got this land, I asked, or Ken said in one of his emails, that we got this land donated to us when the Mystic Forest was being developed. And you wonder, why would someone just give us 1.7 acres to begin with? Why do we get that? Maybe there was some planning and zoning things going on, I don't know. But bottom line is, how about if we, at one of the meetings, look at all the properties that we have and see if there's any that we need to sell? Because we do have, we do have things that we would like to maybe repurpose that money with, you know. One is the Dixboro Green, which if we, you know, if we're doing anything with that. The other would be, I'm sorry? Speed bumps, right? And another could be, playground equipment. I mean, there's just things that we could do with that money. So I would like to, before we do anything with anybody, first decide whether we want, what's the process we're gonna go through and whether or not we want to sell the property.
If I can speak to that 1.7, I can tell you what I can. Approximately 20 years ago, was the lawsuit. When Mystic, whatever, Forest, Mystic Forest was being built. The township had turned down the application. It had gone to court, and as part of the settlement, that 1.7 acres was given to the township. That's what I mean. And as far as talking about a process for sale, as I told you guys before, anybody can give us an offer, but before we can sell anything, it has to be appraised. We cannot sell anything. So, I mean, ultimately, you know, the decision of whether you want to sell it and all that has to come before the township board, must be voted on by the township board, and ultimately, we can't sell anything without getting the appraisal.
Right.
So I've indicated that that's standard for every piece of property that we own. We can't stop people from making offers. They want to make an offer, they can make an offer, but that certainly does not put you in a position of having to accept anything, nor does it mean that you are relieved of your obligation to perform an appraisal on that property before you sell.
Right. And I just think in this instance, since it was so low, that was just.
Everybody knew.
I mean, but anybody can offer anything you want, it's up, like Fred said, it's the appraisal. I think that knowing that we would have to have an appraisal, that would stop anything crazy from happening. But it would be definitely something I would love to see is what vacant properties we have and what would we be potentially entertaining to get unloaded. Because there are some things, competing priorities that we have that we don't necessarily want to utilize general fund for, whatever.
So I think generally that this is probably the only property that we're alienating. The other properties that we own are parks, government buildings, utilities, and things like that. But I can get a list of.
Well, actually, Ken, it seems like we had some separate properties on the rock property. If you looked at all of the rock, there were some separations, like we could do some. There's parcels, so it's.
They're covered by the bond.
Right, so we could maybe sell some of those before we do anything with.
We can't do anything with that until the bond is paid.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that is, you can check with Pat McGowan, and until that bond is paid off, we can't alienate any of the properties.
Okay.
But I think that this 1.7 acres, for all I know, it doesn't even put, I don't know anything about it.
Well, you acted like it wasn't a big deal.
Well, I think, I mean, my preference would be to have an appraisal and settle with the broker and give everybody an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, give everybody.
Yeah,
Right.
just making sure that we have an open process where if anybody else wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. So you have listed with a broker, that'll go on MLS, and then a sign will go off there, and then anybody who's interested can make it through the brokers.
But we will.
Right. Oh, yeah, we have to know what it's for.
But why don't, I just have a question. Why don't we hire somebody for the vacant land that we have that could do an appraisal on each?
Well, we do
parcel.
get an insurance appraisal.
Yeah, township wide, if we own it, how do your balance sheet and income statement look if you don't know what the, what the hell? They're worse. I mean, by appraisal is what I'm speaking of. That doesn't compute with me, but
I agree.
We have to know what our assets are before we can turn those assets into a sale to pay off either liabilities or purchase equipment and things that we would love to do. How many kids, and I'm speaking of
teenagers down, wouldn't love to get some new equipment. We can't do that unless we have. Yes, the money.
I will run a list off, do assessing, send it to everybody. I don't believe, other than this, everything else is either government buildings or parks. I don't know, this one's an odd one. See, I didn't even know I came about it. I knew it was a gift because I saw that it was 0% on the BSNA account. But I didn't know it was part of that lawsuit. Yeah, a way it comes. So, I guess what we would do before we sell any property is we want an appraisal and listen to the broker. And we would agree that that property is in. All right, so discuss process to review contracts.
Right, so we've been talking about this is another one of those, Rhonda, we've been bringing this up over and over again. We'd like to rebid our contracts. We talked about IT, you had me send you examples of IT, bidding documents. I did that again and then nothing. So we would like to just, we may end up with the same folks. All we want to do is, we've had them for years, let's auditors, we've got Ken Polka for this year, but let's open that up because we've had, I think that firm's been around for 20 years or something, you said.
What, Ken?
So just. let's
So we
open-
could strike auditing because we approved that tonight.
No, for now,
That's just for future.
Okay.
So let's
It's
do this,
We have to at some point.
just fight the.
Well, I would say that if you want to like rebid all that, we should really hire a company who knows how to do those business. What do I know about servers? What do I know about
I
science?
gave you specs that other townships used, other townships use them, so we can, you could get a consultant to help.
Yeah, that's what
look
we
at
need,
them.
especially on IT.
Yeah, we
Yes.
can do. We can
But
figure it out.
we-
The other ones, I think that we could probably handle ourselves.
Yeah, but I think we can do legal and.
But we don't have, the controller is an employee.
But I think that it's coming up to, we keep talking about Keith, he tried to resign and didn't, and then he rescinded it. But, I think the time has come we've had enough issues on our accounting and auditing where if someone were on site, they might have been able to see what's going on. I think we're running a liability and risk, and it's actually in our management letter. Hiring someone who lives in Florida, sorry, Keith, but I think the time has come where we need to have an in-house controller.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. Really,
So maybe-
having somebody in-house would be helpful, but I have to say that all of our audits for like 15 years have come back unqualified opinion that the accounting is.
That's not true. There's a material weakness included in the management letter every year that says we have a weakness because they have to prepare our financial statements at the end. And there has been, Ken, he lives
No, they
in
used to
Florida.
do that.
He lives in Florida. We need there's lots of people here locally who could do this. I for one have gotten to the point where we need someone local. We need someone local. We pay him over $100,000. We pay probably about $8,000 to come, for him to come back and forth. We probably pay another $8,000 for Polka's firm to do the financial statements. That's a big chunk of money where you could hire someone full-time here. So.
Don't have a problem with that.
So I move that we start looking into, and talking to Keith about maybe, since stepping back and getting someone on board for our township controller, a real life CPA. So that's my motion.
Well,
I move that we.
I think that motion is just too vague.
Okay, so I move that we, talk about terminating Keith's employment, if it's an employment agreement, and hiring a CPA or a controller locally to be on site at the township.
It's gonna cost you more than $127.
Oh, it won't. It won't. You could have if he does 30 hours a week, Nancy, you can get a half time at 30 hours. I've already looked into that. I have throughout the.
We're not looking to do this, I'm looking to do this at the end of the year, at the end of, where are we?
Maybe at the end of this audit, you know, go through the audit process.
Well, you all need to understand that, we keep, he will probably submit his letter now based on the conversation that we're having, so
But
just keep that in mind.
and I'm okay with that, I am just saying that.
That is too late.
But you have Aaliyah in utilities, I know she's not at a. You don't need to have a CPA to help with the financial statements right now, you know, and I'm sorry, I'm just being, yeah, yes. So,
Can we just table this the next meeting?
I think it's really time to do this, Ken. It's time, you've heard this, you know, just thinking about the 100,000, thinking about the other issues that we've had this year with finances. I'm just being frank and upfront and honest. This is
What issues are you talking about? We've had
the fraud stuff. We didn't get to know it. We didn't get to know it right away. Like there was probably 6 months on one of them. I'm done. I'm done with, I think that we had enough people in this community. There's a accountant in Hanover Township I dealt with.
But fraud, that was.
And we need a controller on site. My motion is to have a controller on site.
They didn't know about utilities.
That's right. And that's my motion.
I think. Okay, if there's no second, then it dies for lack of support. So I move on. So.
But I have a question though. I thought we were, I'm sorry, I had to step out the room. I thought we were looking at all the contracts and not picking one.
Special was, so that's why
And that's why we need to look at all of them, not just pull one, even though Norman Pete, based on this discussion, his letter will be there tomorrow. But as long as we have, you know, in the place, but I thought we were looking at all of them and not pulling one.
He was an employee, not that's the way we got this.
He's an employee,
Okay.
not a, he's an employee of the controller, he is not paid anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so updates from the committee to review the desired language for job posting to hire part-time personnel.
Yes, and I think you have that went around the table. Rhonda and I got together along with Nancy Beeson. And Brad, we actually used, looked around at other townships and their human resources director and pretty much came up with this draft. I don't know, you know, we didn't assign any money to this.
Well, we can, if you want, you can put this job description out there and have it posted for 6 weeks and see what happens.
We don't know what the, as Bernice just said, we didn't assign that.
we didn't assign a dollar amount to it, which that's something I think will be the next step. We just wanted to get it in front of the board to have an opportunity to review, make any deletions or additions to it. But also, these were, the more that we discussed it and looked at it, really, there's a full-time role in this,
Absolutely.
because we've got a lot of personnel level things that need to be addressed. And we got a lot of things that we need to shore up. And only in, you know, in fairness in doing this right, somebody would need to come in full time to really tackle the beast and right the ship. So our recommendation is a full-time human resource director for the township. And once you guys are comfortable with this, we can definitely try to figure out salary comparables that we are in agreement with.
Well, guess what? I think if you had put a salary on here, we could approve this tonight.
Well, we want to give you guys time.
Yeah, we really need to.
That's pretty much.
Everybody to
We bring this back, and you guys discuss.
We will.
salary and-
Salary,
We'll get
okay.
it posted in February.
Okay, then approved and posted.
Get it approved and posted.
Right. And there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
are left out there that needs to be done, and just bring the township to a more professional.
Yeah.
Okay, so that takes us to bill for payment. And record of disbursements. Make a motion on that,
So moved.
or any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, please and petitions. Are there anybody on the board or in the audience that has a clear petition? All right. I would ask anybody of the clear petition, just be mindful
let's
of
be
the
real
time, because
I was sitting here wondering, because I know there's some people that are part of the board that are taking on some extra responsibilities. Now, this might be illegal or not part of the guidelines, but I know there's a compensation that they receive, but is there additional compensation? Because for instance, HR, that's gonna take a lot of time. Some other things that we talked about today is taking time, so do board members or trustees get additional pay when they do these activities?
you can provide some additional pay if the board approves it. I generally look at this kind of committee work as just part of the job being an elected official. If it becomes like a real job and a trustee comes on as, Lisa did when she was a trustee and became the deputy treasurer, then you gotta pay them.
I'm glad to.
It's just like the community center.
So, we did add a discussion for farming the rock property. We put that on the agenda
Okay.
earlier. All I want to do is, before you have any discussions with anybody,
I have,
like that Mr. Peach guy, let's open this up to see if there are other people that may want to farm the rock property or part of the rock property.
I put in a bid for that, we will need to make sure we have adequate equipment and storage.
Well, we can hear what they want to do,
Well, we're just going.
but we have no benefit to those crops. And we-
Maintain the soil.
I think that's a discussion.
Yeah, so we put it on the agenda for next.
You want it in old business?
I want it in new business because we didn't really discuss that.
Okay.
Also, pleas and petitions, someone asked to have the audits put on the township website at our last meeting, so I'd like to see that happen. Sometimes we don't do follow-up when they've asked for something, then you just don't see that that's happened. And I think that is actually.
Any more?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah, first of all, I don't know why you guys only twice a month. Is this, the packets, the first packet I got was over 400 pages, the next one was over 200 pages, this one was 165 pages. And then it's very evident that not everybody is reading what's in the packet, especially when one of the trustees brings up the letter of credit and the supervisor says, I don't know what you're talking about, and I even saw that in the packet. So that's very concerning to me. And the other thing is that we just kind of skimmed over, you guys just kind of skimmed over the fact that Infinity was paid $100,000 out of a bucket that didn't belong to them. And it seems like nobody's taking responsibility for that. And when it comes up, as well as a few other financial issues, Supervisor Swartz, your response was, I don't have anything to do with that. And actually, you do. The buck stopped. I'm reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. Told me to hurry up. I'm reclaiming my time. The other thing is, it concerned me when the attorney said the point is not that the money was paid out improperly. It most certainly is the point. And as Trustee Lindsay was talking about the board packets, before excluding things, before taking any action in that direction, I would encourage caution, because right now transparency walks closely with trust. And there are too many financial discrepancies that are happening right now, that are being brought to light. So that's it for me.
Anybody else? Seeing none, oh, yes, Landis, you have somebody from the Zoom wall?
Yes, a lot. Forgive me. SH says, my name is Samuel Haynes. I live on Durham Court. I'm the young man who wrecked his tire on a pothole. It cost me $270 to get my tire fixed proper. Thank you for your hard work, but as leaders, we are judged by how we handle our least issues, as those are the easiest to establish trust. To the point, the work you do becomes thankless. But thanks should not be what you seek. Fix the pothole. Keep up all the good work. SO said, I would like to see all communications mentioned on page 6 of the board packet actually included in the board packet. Debbie Covington said, I request the board purchase better equipment for a hybrid meeting. At this point, we cannot see all members of the board, the citizen participants, the police and petition speakers, or any other speakers. This creates an inequity for people who wish to take advantage of the virtual option. There's a device called the Meeting Owl, which provides a 360-degree view of the meeting. It gives a full view of the room. It also allows people in the physical room to see the Zoom participants. At this point, the board does not consistently recognize Zoom participants, which means we are not full participants in the meeting. A Meeting Owl can help give equitable access and participation to virtual attendees. Residents said, the board continues to hear comments from the public. What is the board's process to address these issues after the meeting ends? I have heard the same thing for the last 3 months with no changes or follow-up. Residents said, based on the engagement letter of the auditor in the board packet, there were 5 significant risks of material misstatements found during audit planning. 1, why were auditors doing work before the township signed the current year engagement letter? 2, do we not get bids for other auditors every, they say, I'm reading what's misspelled, every few years? If not, why and who determined that? 3, what is the board doing currently and publicly to address the issues the auditor listed? 4, why are the audited financials for 2021 and 2022 not publicly available for residents to view online? I'm almost done. Another resident said, did the township find someone and accept a bid to salt and plow? Another resident said, when reviewing bids and agreement to pay, how can they even be considered without board reviewing what they are legally agreeing to pay for? SO said, why do our elected officials not have some kind of remote monitoring, threat protection software deployed to their laptops that allow data to be extracted should a device be conveniently go missing or be purposely destroyed, I mean hacked? PP, does the board have a procedure for employees to report issues and concerns to worrying how elected officials would treat them in the office? Does HR have any communication regards why an employee is leaving? Is that reported to the board? Residents said Superior Charter Township needs to have mandatory sexual harassment training for all employees, trustees, and elected officials. Residents said abuse allegations by elected officials need to be investigated by an outside party. Today brought up a lack of transparency by the elected officials, and they are only pointing fingers and not being held accountable in any regard. Resident said, is the comment regarding Lynette being on her 6th clerk true? I'm sorry, I'm trying to decipher. Why has the board not looked into this? Superior Resident said, we need resident participation on these complaints meetings. As we have no faith in your ability to arbitrate. SO said was a representative from the Washington County Sheriff's Office present for today's session. They have been formally requested to attend these meetings and deliver their report in person on multiple occasions as a requirement of their contract with the township, and even verified they would be present for all future meetings to do such at the November meeting. Why did we not receive an in-person sheriff's report during this January meeting that would give citizens an opportunity to learn what the WCS is doing to proactively address the issues of gun violence, auto thefts, and larcenies in our community? Resident says, who authorized the payment of $100,000? Resident says, when reviewing land, you should review all assets township owns, our vehicles, computers, etc., in working order and still be owned. And that's it.
That one person?
No, it's like, yeah, a whole bunch.
Okay.
I just gotta say, on behalf of the sheriff's department, our new representative has been at the meeting, the entire meeting, so
Yeah.
I just want to.
And still here. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, seeing no other pleas or petitions, I take a motion to adjourn.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, yeah, Brandon's real